has just been, not good.
I'm so upset. Oh my God.
Turks, big show ahead. So we've got a lot of fun stories here, and we got a lot of disastrous stories. So
we don't have
normal.
fun stories.
No. Social media right winger.
Ooh, that is fun. That is fun.
Versus Zoran Mamdani. He thinks he could beat him. We'll share that with you later, and we'll commentate on it. And then bad stories like
we're gonna start off with bad stories.
Israel's about to flood the West Bank with a bunch of religious lunatics.
What's new?
Yeah, well, I hear you. Well, the size of that plan is new, and Israeli human rights organizations with devastating reports from the West Bank, and we appreciate that there are good people inside Israel trying to let us know about the fascism that has taken over that country. And in a second, we're gonna start with fascists in our own country, and I don't mean right-wingers, so don't jump to conclusions. I mean establishment Democrats and Republicans who'd like to hand our country over to Israel. And that's what's happening right now. So a lot to get to, and then at the end, at 8 o'clock Eastern, Operation Joy. Okay, so that's what we'll do. A couple of doozies I think you guys will love to hear about. So we'll get to that later, but let's get started.
Jake, I just want to say I found a productive way to unleash my rage.
Oh, okay. Well, that's very positive news.
People say that it's good to to do the weights.
To do the weights.
I've been doing the weights, and it feels pretty good.
Anna, you gotta stop working out. I mean, you're just too.
In a month or so, I'm gonna be pretty ripped, I think. But anyway, all right, no, but in all seriousness, we do have some serious stories to get to. So why don't we begin with what you were just referencing, Jake?
Yep. As usual, there are two congressmen that are working for us. Soon it will only be one. It's Ro Khanna and Tom Massie, and they are trying to block a bill that would merge our military with Israel's military, specifically in regards to technology and data. That way, Israel could take all of our intelligence without having to steal it, and that would remove an inconvenience for them. So Khanna and Massie asked for something very simple. Can we have a vote on it? And Congress said no. You'll get no votes at all, and Israel will get to take trillions of dollars in value without even requiring a vote in the House. How is that even possible? Well, let's explain.
Well, I wanted to talk a little bit more about what was originally referred to as Section 224. It has now been changed. It's now Section 219 of the National Defense Authorization Act. Gee, I wonder why they changed the name. Now, the provision specifically merges the IDF with the US military, and it also forces, should this additional provision in the Senate pass, it would force our intelligence community to share all intelligence with Mossad and with the Israelis, which sounds insane. Now, as Cenk referenced, you have two members of Congress, both one a Republican, the other a Democrat. You've got Ro Khanna and then Thomas Massie, providing an amendment to ensure that that type of provision doesn't pass. And it turns out that they won't even allow a vote on it. So let me just give you a few more details about the provisions I'm referring to. So again, one of the provisions allows for the unprecedented integration of the US and Israeli military industrial complex. As Ben Freeman writes in Responsible Statecraft, this provision creates an executive agent within the Department of Defense whose sole responsibility is furthering US and Israeli military tech integration across nearly every facet of the defense process, from co-producing weapons to data fusion. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has described this shift in the US-Israel relationship as, quote, my plan. So while you might hear Netanyahu pretend as though he wants to reject any future US military or any financial aid to Israel. In reality, he's behind the scenes, hatching this plan to merge the IDF and their intelligence community with our military and intelligence community. Joe Kent, the former director of the National Counterterrorism Center, who I've also interviewed about this, wrote the following in Responsible Statecraft: "The dangers of allowing any other nation to access our sensitive military technologies are obvious, including the fact that backdoors and spyware can be installed that will most certainly be used by the Israelis to influence US policy." In fact, for those of you who might not know, just recently our intelligence community had upgraded Israel's threat of espionage against the United States to the highest possible level. That just happened, and Congress is about to pass these provisions which would make it easier for the Israelis to carry out espionage against our country. Paul Pillar, who spent 25 plus years working for the CIA, explains how disastrous this is. In intelligence, Israel is more of an adversary than an ally. Being an adversary in intelligence means indulging in the hostile act of espionage. Israel has a long record of conducting that type of hostile act against the United States. And for those of you who might want to fact check me, which I always welcome, because I might get something wrong. In this case, the Defense Intelligence Agency revealed that Israeli espionage efforts in the United States have been deemed critical, which is the highest level that this agency has in this grading system, I suppose. So Massey and Khanna provide this amendment to ensure that this type of provision doesn't pass. However, as Ben Freeman writes at Responsible Statecraft, after no debate on Monday, the Rules Committee chose to reject a bipartisan amendment introduced by Representatives Khanna and Massey that would have stripped the United States-Israel Defense Technology Cooperation Initiative from the bill. So Cenk, what do these lawmakers have to be afraid of? Why don't they want a full House vote on this so we can see who is a traitor to the country and who actually wants to protect the American people and represent their best interests?
Yeah, so I'm gonna get to that, but let me break it down a little bit more. So as Anna just explained to you, literally no one does more espionage against us than Israel does. And that means they steal more from us, our sensitive technologies, intelligence, data, more than any other country. And what's amazing about that is that our media says, oh yeah, that's perfectly normal. No, it's not. And then they always followed up with like the Canadians and the Dutch are also doing espionage against us, so it's no big deal. Wait, are they?
Are they?
I've literally never heard of the Canadians or the Dutch stealing from us.
Aren't you so worried about the Canadians, Cenk?
Yeah, I do know that Israel stole nuclear technology from us and the uranium and the nuclear triggers, which by the way was Project Pinto. And guess who was involved in that? Benjamin Netanyahu when he was younger, okay? So did I see Canada steal any of those things? No, I never saw anyone but Israel steal all those things over and over and over again. And again, it's empirical. Our own intelligence has said, watch out. These are the biggest thieves that are the highest risk to the United States of America. So now, a lot of Americans now either dislike or despise Israel, an overwhelming majority. So, and they're beginning to lose elections, even in New York, especially in New York, right? And they figured, we got New York locked up. And it turns out, you don't have it locked up. So
pretty soon, hopefully we'll get you guys locked up.
Yeah, so now they have to go through a series of camouflages to disguise their takeover of our country and our intelligence and every other part that they've taken, okay? So Section 224 is enormously unpopular. Tons of people have written in, both Republican voters and Democratic voters. They despise it, right? So they're like, for no reason, we'll just change it to Section 219. So it'll just be a little bit more confusing and we'll say 224, I don't know what that is.
We think Americans are stupid and they can't follow along.
Yeah, okay, but that's a tiny minor thing. Okay, now we move to Benjamin Netanyahu said, we are gonna be free of America. We don't need your money anymore other than the next 10 years. As if he's entitled to the next 10 years. And all the media lied to you and said Israel doesn't want any more money. No, they want money for 10 more years. And then his next plan is even more devious. Oh, am I allowed to use that word for thieves and terrorists and genocidal maniacs like Netanyahu? Yes, I am. Okay, so he says, oh, I got a great idea. We keep stealing from these guys, including me personally. And maybe some of the social media influencers we use, uncles. Anyways, okay, so since we've been stealing and stealing, but these bitches work for us, these stupid, corrupt politicians we dragged from the bottom of the barrel in America, found the very worst people who will betray their country for money. So why don't we just have them pass a law that says we could just steal it legally? We merge our data, so we have all of your data. We take your sensitive military technologies for free, and we co-produce weapons. And what does that mean? That means we pay for them and they get them.
100%.
Okay, we pay for the data, we pay for the intelligence, the technology, the weapons, and Israel gets all of it for free. Now our defense budget is about $1 trillion. So that's a free, the whole thing's not going to Israel because we build actual weapons and ships, etc. But an enormous amount of hundreds of billions of dollars for free. So this is how Israel robs us blind. But now getting to Anna's question. Well, what the hell's going on here? What do you mean you're not gonna vote on it? Well, in the committee, they had a vote and they had a small discussion and Ro Khanna's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? Why are we doing this? Nobody wants this. No American wants this, right? Sarah Jacobs was great, and she opposed it. And every other 100% of the Republicans and every other Democrat showed that they definitively work for Israel, and of course they all take money from the Israeli lobby. And our media again goes, "What am I, a reporter?" No, I think they do it because they just genuinely love Israel and they love that they steal our stuff. So we have to do, yes, way to love Israel more. The disgusting liars in media. So they have a voting committee, but then you need the whole House to vote. No, they don't want to do that because they already took a lot of heat for that committee hearing. That went viral.
Lots of heat. That's right.
And then people were like, wait, are Khanna and Sarah Jacobs the only decent people in Congress? What the hell's going on? Why are they letting them steal our stuff, right? And so they're like, well, now that we're gonna put this in a defense policy bill, there's a lot of amendments in a defense policy bill. We can't vote on all of them individually for the whole House. So we'll just put it into the bill without a vote, and then the whole House will get to vote on the whole bill. And then at that point, we'll say, you're not gonna vote for the defense bill? You're helping the terrorists. You're not supporting the troops. You've left us vulnerable.
And to your point, Cenk, anytime the National Defense Authorization Act is reported on in legacy media, they always refer to it in a very specific way. What do they call it? They always call it a must-pass bill.
Yes. So they put it in a must-pass bill without an overall House vote. And think about why they're doing that. Anna's right. If they were proud of this and this was really gonna help America and not their benefactors who are, people who love Israel and not America, they would proudly say it. They'd be like, oh, I want it on the record. Every bill I vote on, I would want on the record because I'm proud of my policies, right? They go, this one, no, don't put it on the record. Why? Because they're planning to betray you as they always do. They're planning to give all of this to Israel and take it out of your pocket, and they don't want you to know because then you might vote against them. And so they're trying every way to serve their masters and betray you. So that is the overwhelming majority of Congress, almost all of them.
Yep.
And by the way, why isn't okay? I'll go ahead, Anna.
Okay, I've got a lot to say, so you got to be patient. Okay.
Yep.
So members of Congress have been hounded about this, and look, at the end of the day, if this amendment doesn't make it to a full House vote, then it's really hard to hold each individual member of Congress accountable. Now, who's holding back the ability for a full House vote? As I mentioned earlier, it's the House Rules Committee, right? So maybe we just need to apply additional pressure, more pressure, extreme pressure on the members of the House Rules Committee. So I want to read off their names. And if they happen to be your representative in your district, fantastic. You're gonna have a little more weight in pressuring these lawmakers. But if you're an American, feel free to hit every single one of these people up hit them up in their offices. If you happen to be local in the area where their offices are located, show them a little visit, okay? Maybe hit up their staffers when these lawmakers inevitably ignore you. They're gonna try to avoid you. So in the Rules Committee, we have in the Republican Party, of course, that's the majority, so they have the control, but it's Congresswoman Virginia Fox, Republican from North Carolina, Representative Michelle Fishback, a Republican from Minnesota, Representative Ralph Norman from South Carolina, another Republican, Chip Roy from Texas, another Republican, Aaron Hochin, Republican from Indiana, Nicholas A. Langworthy, Republican from New York, Representative Morgan Griffith, Republican from Virginia, and then you have Brian Jack, that's another Republican from Georgia. Now, of the minority members, these are the Democrats, of course. Yes, go ahead.
Before you get to the Democrats, real quick, Chip Roy is always like, I'm in the Freedom Caucus, man. I'm like a populist outsider. Oh, Israel, I'll let you steal everything, right? Yeah, Chip, what happened? You're a bitch for Israel, aren't you? Right? Virginia Fox, oh, I'm so right wing. Oh, I'll hate Muslims. I hate trans people. I hate everyone. Oh, Israel, I bow to Israel. Yeah, you're none of you are right wing or conservative or populist or outsiders. You're all servants of another country. Go ahead.
Like I said, make sure you communicate what your preferences are with the individuals that I'm listing right now. These are all people in the House Rules Committee. Of the minority members, these are the Democrats. You have Jim McGovern from Massachusetts, Mary Gay Scanlon from Pennsylvania, Joe Neguse from Colorado, and Teresa Fernandez from New Mexico. So these are the people who are holding back the possibility of a full House vote on Ro Khanna and Thomas Massey's amendments. The other thing I just wanted to add briefly is, we're thinking about how disastrous this would be in terms of Israel further leeching off the resources of the American people. But my mind has now wandered to much darker places. You have to consider the conduct of the IDF, which should be considered a terrorist organization. Now, why do I call it a terrorist organization? Because they literally slaughter their own people. Not only do they slaughter innocent civilians, they also slaughter their own people, and now we have the silver bullet to prove it. Now, we've talked about the Hannibal directive. The Hannibal directive is when the IDF will literally shoot and kill their own in order to prevent them from being taken as hostages. That way, the hostage takers do not have any leverage over the Israelis. And it turns out these idiots on October 7th decided to video record themselves talking about the Hannibal directive. This was released recently by an account on X called I Really Hate You. And apparently this even aired in Israeli television back in February, okay? So we're gonna watch the video. You're gonna hear Hebrew if you're our audio listener, but I'll read the quotes when we come back out of the video. Let's take a look.
עכשיו מפציץ את כל קו הרצועה עם ארטילריה, דופק להם מכה על מנת שיהיה להם בעיה.
ממש להם על זה. כתבתי את זה לאבי.
הם לא מעלים מזכרים, את רוצה שנראה?
לא, על עזה. שורק את הכל. עם החיילים שחטפו להם.
Break it all apart along with the soldiers who got abducted. Those are the hostages. In other words, kill the hostages too. Okay, so let me read you the full context of what they said in that video. The clip, which aired in February on Israel's Channel 12, shows Israeli officials in Israel's police command center saying, right now, I would bomb the entire Gaza border with artillery, hit them with a blow so they'd have a real problem. To which another Israeli official replied, it looks like they're on it. One Israeli official asked, they're not even getting fighter helicopters in the air. You think they're on it? And another replied, no, on Gaza, break it all apart, along with the soldiers who got abducted. So they're totally okay with killing their own just to ensure that in their minds, the enemy doesn't have leverage over them. Remember how much they pretended to care so much about the hostages? But Cenk, I'm worried about a situation in which the military gets used against the American people if they don't comply with Israel's wishes. I'm worried about that.
You should be deeply worried about that.
Yeah.
So, Okay, so one thing at a time. By the way, the guy who walks in and goes, "What are you doing? Stop the tape," is Ben Gvir.
Yes.
So he's like, "We're about to say terrible things that'll prove that we're all terrorists, including killing our own people. So stop the tape." And that's the one smart thing Ben Gvir has done. So remember, a lot of Israelis were upset with Netanyahu because he seemed to not care about the hostages. Little do they know, or apparently some of them do know because it aired on Israeli television. His government was looking to murder their own hostages before Hamas could do it.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing. But it won't air on cable news. It'll move no one in American media. They'll continue with their lies. Okay, so, and by the way, I want to say something important about back at home here as well too. Why aren't Democrats speaking out? Okay, so I get it. Republicans are totally owned by Israel, right? And they just defeated Tom Massey, so all the scared little girls in Congress who are Republicans are hiding behind AIPAC's skirt, and they're completely lost party. I wish they weren't, but they are for now, okay? But the Democrats are pretending that they care about their voters. They're pretending to be against all donors and money in politics, etc. When in reality, they're giant liars who are stuffing their mouths full of donor money, including Israeli lobby money. And so they're leaving Ro Khanna out by himself, fighting a lonely battle with Tom Massey.
Of course.
Where the hell's the cavalry?
Of course.
I mean, I don't understand this. Look, I get it. I understand that 95% of, literally 94% of Congress is bought by the Israeli lobby. But there's people that are pretending to be progressives and that don't take corporate PAC money or AIPAC money. What's stopping you? Jesus, what is the bare minimum level of courage that you need to take action?
One of the only other Democrats that I've seen, aggressively proposing amendments that, of course, also get blocked. Rashida Tlaib. In fact, she's pushing for a war powers resolution in regard to Lebanon. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I think they're going to block that as well. They did block AOC's effort to prevent the military aid to Israel, including defensive military weaponry. Honestly, she was proposing something that already exists, which is ensuring that the US doesn't provide any weaponry at all to a country that's breaking international laws. Her amendment would have included one additional congressional approval that would be necessary to send the weapons. But either way, it got blocked. That got blocked by the Rules Committee as well.
Yeah, I'm glad AOC did that, and she should join this fight. And every progressive in Congress should join this fight, because finally we get to the question that Anna's asking about. So what's going to prevent Israel from using this against us? And if you say, oh, well, Israel is too moral to do that. Well, okay, you're on a different planet.
They've killed Americans in the West Bank. They've killed 10
Americans in the last 3 years and haven't even arrested anyone. And our government hasn't asked them to arrest anyone.
Exactly.
Because our government works for Israel nearly completely. And if you don't believe that, you just don't know the news. So we're telling you right here, this is a giant takeover of our military technology. So would Israel use it against us? 1,000,000,000%. They would have no qualms in using it against us. There's a quote from Benjamin Netanyahu that I alluded to yesterday, where he gives a speech about how it's Jews versus Rome, and how this time Jews are going to beat Rome. Now, this is not my language. This is his language. Okay. And they after the speech, behind the scenes, they ask him, who's Rome? And he says, America. So of course they would use it against. They would use it for anything that they think is right. Why? Because they're lunatics, and they believe that they're all going to be killed any second if they don't kill everyone else around them.
I don't think they actually believe it, honestly. I think that they use
the citizens believe it.
The citizens do, because the government whips them up into a frenzy and fearmongers constantly. So yeah, I do think that the Israeli citizens genuinely do believe that. But do I think that those in positions of power in Israel genuinely believe it themselves? No, I don't. I think that they weaponize fear and they pretend to be scared of these threats in order to justify what they've been carrying out, which is mass slaughter, land theft, and the pursuit of the Greater Israel Project. It's so obvious. It's so obvious.
One other thing in that tape that is not getting as much attention is the one guy who's frustrated, like, how come the helicopters haven't arrived yet? That's a great question. It only takes 45 minutes to cross Israel in a helicopter.
That's true.
6-7 hours. They didn't show up on October 7th. So that's why the citizens are different than the government officials. Some of the government officials are nuclear level evil, including doing anything they want to their own citizens so they can grab more land for the greater Israel. They're a sick fascist government, and our sick, corrupt politicians say we should merge our military with theirs so they could take all of our hard-earned money that we spent on there and then use it potentially against us. And our media tells us, oh, that's all perfectly normal. Oh, is it normal? So can we do it with Turkey, a much better ally? That's the second largest army in NATO. How dare you? How dare you do it with, you can't merge our military with the Turks. Can we do it with the French? No, we can't do it with anyone.
With no one, okay? This is a traitorous proposal, and Tom Cotton in the Senate proposing that we merge our intelligence organizations.
CIA and Mossad.
Yeah, disgusting. Anyway, it tells you everything you need to know about who controls our government, and it's not the American people, and that's a problem. Anyway, when we come back, we'll talk about a Supreme Court ruling that unfortunately is pretty disastrous for the future of our democratic process.
All right, let's go to members on TYT.com. Embedded Dude says, hey gang, I don't want to make you jealous, but it's a beautiful day in Santee, California. Sky is clear and blue, it's mid-70s with a gentle breeze. You never know that the world is about to end. So look, that one thing at a time. It's not about to end yet, and we've got time to fight back. And I love that you're out there enjoying the day. You could do, two things can be true at the same time. You could have a great day and then fight for justice. Those two things, you don't have to be angry or depressed to fight for justice. In fact, it doesn't help. Sexy Speed Racer says, sounds insane and totally unconstitutional. It's basically treason. Yeah, it is. It is treason. And 94% of our Congress would sell us out for any donor, but they definitely are selling us out for Israel. And 100% of our national media is lying to you and pretending they're not. In fact, they attack the people who give you the truth. Navinix says about it, Anna's workouts, Casper Schwarzenegger.
Stop whining.
Okay, put that away, says the complete takeover is here. There is no return from this. Very scary / disappointing times. It hasn't passed yet, but the place is filled with traitors, Congress is. Almost all of them, like I said, work for Israel, so they'll be happy to pass this. And they'll yell at Kana, say, oh yeah, you're gonna pass the defense bill. We're all gonna die if you don't pass it. Because they don't care about our defense, they only care about Israel's defense. I loathe these people. Okay, I'm out of time, we'll be back.
Stop whining.
All right, back on the Young Turks, Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian, Sickman 51, and the real Donnie 2X. Those are American heroes who joined through tyt.com/join. And guys, we do need as many members and donations as we could possibly get. Right now, we are besieged by those same evil forces. tyt.com/join. Oh, well, you can't say that people committing a genocide and murdering 23,000 kids are evil. I just did. They're deeply evil. Okay, but good news, I can save you money. So Noble Mobile, this is the last day I actually need you to panic. Their 3 months free ends today. So you gotta go now. You're never gonna get a deal better than this. I think they might have realized that this deal is too good. So tyt.com/switch, nothing on your phone changes. The cell phone service I've had is perfect. Max you could pay is $50. I pay way less because you get money back for data, but now 3 months free. Do it right now. I swear to God, you'll regret it if you don't. I have had great service, so much cheaper than before. Same exact thing as before. tyt.com/switch, tyt.com/switch. All right, let's go to the next story. Now, if you think corporate rule has been bad in this country and donors controlling our politicians has been horrific, well, I got bad news for you. It's about to get worse. The Supreme Court made a ruling that made it worse in two disastrous ways. We're gonna explain. Anna.
Well, if you could believe it, prior to the Supreme Court ruling, there were some restrictions, some regulations that, hindered full-blown corruption. There were some campaign finance laws, and basically what the Supreme Court ruling does is squash them. So this case is the National Republican Senatorial Committee v. Federal Election Commission, and in a 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court has now ruled that political campaigns can now coordinate with political action committees, which of course are free to receive unlimited campaign donations from wealthy, moneyed interests. Now, the ruling comes just 4 months prior to the midterms taking place, and the decision strikes down campaign finance laws that placed limits on how much a national party can spend in cooperation with individual candidates and their campaigns. So the decision, or the court found that these restrictions violate free speech. Okay, so the speech of individual Americans who aren't part of a lobbying group or aren't representing moneyed interests, that doesn't matter. But the weightier, wealthier groups and lobbyists in this country get to have more free speech than ordinary individual voters. That's how this really plays out. So the case was brought forward by the National Republican Senatorial Committee, the RNC, and 2 campaigns dating back to 2022. And those were the congressional campaigns of now Vice President J.D. Vance and then Representative Steve Chabot, who lost his re-election race. Now, the FEC under the Trump administration supported the challengers in this case, meaning that the FEC wanted to do away with the remaining campaign finance laws that we have in this country. Now, under the law struck down, parties could make unlimited independent expenditures in support of a candidate, which must be done separately from the candidate's campaign, but cannot exceed limits on coordinated spending done in conjunction with a campaign. So here's the point. If you are running for public office, your campaign is limited in regard to how much an individual donor can give you. However, when it comes to a super PAC, moneyed interests can give as much money they want to a super PAC, but the 2 things need to be separate. You can only coordinate up to a certain amount of money. So that can include such spending as hiring a venue or fundraising consultants or paying for a candidate's travel, the Republicans said in court papers. Now, the majority opinion was written by Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Those who agreed with him, the majority included Chief Justice John Roberts, Justice Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, Neil Gorsuch, and Amy Coney Barrett. Of course, the dissent consisted of the 3 liberal justices, including Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson. So right now, the cap on how much money parties, well, prior to this ruling, the amount or the cap on the amount that parties can spend in coordination with candidates, that dates back to the Watergate era, the Federal Election Campaign Act of 1971. Since then, it's been changed in order to keep up with inflation, but there were still limits on how much money could be spent on federal candidates and how much federal candidates can coordinate with super PACs. So prior to the ruling, the limit was still pretty big. The current limit varies based on the population of voting age in specific House or Senate elections. It can be as much as almost $4 million for Senate races and $127,000 for at-large House seats. So whatever, those regulations mean nothing now. They have been upended, destroyed, squashed by the Supreme Court, and now these super PACs can go ahead and coordinate as much as they want with individual campaigns.
Yeah, so there are 2 more terrible consequences. So first off, people that you could only give $3,500 to a particular candidate can now give $44,000 to the RNC or the DNC, and that money can be funneled and coordinated with the campaign. So now they can give basically, nearly 15 times as much as they could before. Oh, great, because elections weren't flooded with enough corporate cash.
No, these races were too cheap, Cenk, too cheap.
billionaires and giant donors just didn't have enough power. So now and by the way, guys, do you have 15 times more to give to politicians? No, we don't even have the money to give to politicians, let alone 15x, but the rich do. And the good news for them is that once they bribe the politicians, they get terrific return on investment. So, AIPAC and the Israeli lobby bribed the politicians to the tune of about $124 million in the last election cycle. And in return, they've gotten at least 13 billion more from Donald Trump since then, let alone the $100 billion we're spending on the Iran war, let alone every other thing that they're getting, right? So the return on investment is fantastic if you could afford it. And so now the rich can buy the politicians at a nuclear level. I mean, it was already nuclear, this is thermonuclear. But there's a second issue here too. If in the past, one of the rules was, hey, if you're a campaign, you could buy at normal rates on television for your political ads. But if you're not a candidate, if you're a super PAC or a political party, you could be charged more. So in fact, with the super PACs that were being charged is the market rate, because the number of ads that are bought brings up the market price, right? So the candidates get to buy at the regular rates that normally exist outside elections, and then the political parties had to buy at a much higher rate, sometimes 10 times as much. So then you had to give a lot more bribes to have the same exact result, right? So now they can spend a lot less and raise a lot more. So when you put those two things together, it's about 150 times their money because of this Supreme Court decision. And by the way, the person who brought this case was J.D. Vance. He thought America is not corrupt enough. And I'd like to make it much more corrupt, because J.D. Vance was a political candidate created in a petri dish by Peter Thiel.
So Cenk, this is what I'm having a difficult time understanding. I'm having a hard time understanding the thinking of the elite in this country, who on one hand whine consistently about growing political violence in America, which is true, there is growing political violence in America. I don't like that political violence. But on the other hand, love to pursue Supreme Court rulings or even legislation that allows for Congress to continue ignoring the will of the people. So what do you think happens in an environment where a government consistently ignores the will of the people while touting our wonderful democracy? When people are not listened to, when people are ignored, when people feel like they have nothing to live for, what do you think happens?
Yeah, well, so there's two layers to that question. But let me go backwards first, which is, some people say, yeah, J.D. Vance brought the case, but oh yeah, I bet you want the Soros money in politics. No, I don't.
No, we want all of it out. We want it all out, all of it.
All of it, okay? I don't care which side it's on, and there is no law you can pass that says, hey, only the Republican money is out, but not the Democratic money.
Exactly.
That's obviously unconstitutional. Although this does help the Republicans, in this case, even more than the Democrats. Why? Because the Democrats' candidates raise a lot of grassroots money, so their candidates have more money. But the Republican Party is much better at raising corporate money, so they get it in much larger chunks. So now that'll have that 150 times effect that we were talking about earlier. But overall, this helps both of the parties, not the individuals, not the voters. It helps the Democratic Party and their establishment, and the Republican Party and their establishment. So the Uniparty is throwing a incredible bonanza. They're popping champagne today. They're like, yes, K Street is ecstatic. They're gonna be able to buy off both parties much more efficiently now. And those parties then will use their infrastructure to crush you, to crush outsiders who might challenge them from the right or the left, right? So, and to answer your question, Anna, what's gonna happen is, first is going to be a political and voter revolt, and in fact, we're in the middle of it now. So Mamdani was the first revolt, and they're like, no, we spent $35 million against him, and we told you he's an anti-Semite. We are now ordering you to vote against Mamdani, and it didn't work. Then they said, we're ordering you to vote against Brad Lander and Valdez and Chevalier, and that didn't work last week. And they lost by so much, they're in a sweaty panic now. And they're like, you must vote against Graham Plattner, he has the wrong tattoo, we're ordering you. And then he won with like 70% of the vote in the primary or more. So now they're going, okay, we gotta go to outright oppression. okay? So that's what's gonna happen next. And guys, here's what I'm super worried about, because we're in the nonviolence camp, we're in the peace camp, and I would say if I have any religion at all, it's nonviolence. So, but what's going to happen when the Uniparty shuts all of this down and then an economic calamity hits? Because that's guaranteed. So whether it's the war or not, like the war can start it and amplify it. So that would be, it's already bad. It's already getting to a place where people are super angry. But if we continue the war, you're going to be shocked at the economic collapse that happens. But even without the war, we have the AI iceberg we're going to hit. That is unquestionable.
100%.
Okay. And when people are unemployed and hungry and mad, and they already know why they got screwed. It was the dirty politicians and the dirty national media that lied to them and that stole their independence and their freedom and their government from them. And then when that inevitably results in what I am worried is going to be significant violence, not like what we've seen, but much, much worse. Then they're gonna say, oh, look at these radical citizens. Let's crush the citizens and show them a lesson, right? And then you get into a surveillance state, and then Palantir takes over, and Israel and the US militaries are merged. And guys, this ends in absolute disaster. The electoral strategy has to work. And these morons don't realize they're playing with all of our lives.
They sure are. Anyway, we got to take a break. When we come back, we've got some updates on Israel's treachery in the West Bank. Don't miss it.
Let's go to Super Chat. Konstantin Kavira says he gave $17.76 through Super Chat, and he says 1776 because TYT fights for America. Appreciate you, Konstantin, as always. Make it make sense says, hope we cover the South Supreme Court decisions. We just did. Not gonna lie, it's a mixed bag of good, bad, and indifferent. How do we get Congress to actually govern?
They did uphold birthright citizenship, which I expected, but you never know with the Supreme Court, so that's good, you know.
Yeah, but it's almost like a flare, right, to distract you, because birthright citizenship is rock solid. So this whole nonsense talk about ending it has always been pretty much impossible, right? So they're like, oh, Supreme Court gets to say, hey, I didn't do something deeply unconstitutional. On the other hand, I totally stole your government and gave it to the donors, right? And what is the decision people are talking about? National media is talking about more? Birthright citizenship.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true.
Yeah, Jacqueline Ann Chando says, am I mistaken? Don't we lose our sovereignty if this section in the NDAA is included if the NDAA is passed? It's basically giving another country control over our country through military and data. No, Jacqueline, you're not missing anything. That's exactly what would happen.
Yeah, the people who are pushing this, meaning members of Congress who are pushing this, are traitors to our country.
Period.
There's no question.
Period.
Yeah.
Not even close. Mark Jacobs 5 says, not sure if you saw this, but Mallory McMorrow is being pressured to drop out since she's in third place to help Haley Stevens. Democrats are backstabbers. Well, of course they are. Corporate Democrats are slime who love working with Lindsey Graham and Ted Cruz to destroy this country. So I'm not surprised. All right, back on TYT, the online news show. Cenk Ugrianek Kasparian and Dark Flame 537. Thanks for joining through the join button below on YouTube. You guys are awesome. You could also ring the bell and keep up with the show. All right, let's go to the next story.
The most recent Secretary General report lays out a worsening picture. The UN says more than 1,100 Palestinians have been killed in the occupied West Bank since October 2023, and that settler attacks have never been higher, an average of 6 a day that bring death, injury, or damage.
So the settler attacks continue. They are vicious. They threaten to rape the wives and the daughters of the settlers. They urinate on Palestinians, beat them, kill them. And as this slaughter is happening, American media pretends not to notice. I have some amazing facts about that later in the story, and it will prove to you definitively 100% that American media is not in the news business. They're pure Israeli propaganda. I'm gonna prove it to you. Now, meanwhile, there's actually good people in Israel, the human rights group B'Tselem, who has put out a report showing they're about to flood the West Bank and partition it in ways that are going to destroy the sovereignty of the West Bank and make sure the Palestinians can never be free. So we're gonna show you that as well. So you're gonna see in this video things you never see in mainstream media. And after we're done, I want you to ask yourself, how come they hid this from you? All right, Anna, go ahead.
Well, our media might attempt to hide what's really going on, but in reality, Israeli officials can't stop themselves from telling us exactly what they intend to do, and then they do it. So why don't we begin with a statement from Israel's finance minister, Bezalel Smotrich, who just this week said the following of the West Bank. In the end, we will establish 103 settlements and 160 villages and pave roads and plan and regulate. We want to bring 1 million settlers to Judea and Samaria. He made that statement this week on Israel's Channel 14. Now, Haaretz is one of the only Israeli publications covering these atrocities every single day. And they recently put out some video about what they have discovered through their reporting on what's transpiring in the West Bank. I want you to take a quick look at that.
The Israeli government approved 18 new settlements deep inside Palestinian territory. There are at least 8 new military bases. More than 30,000 people have been expelled from their homes. The potential for an explosion is enormous. Over the past 20 years, since Israel evacuated 4 settlements from the northern West Bank, 700,000 Palestinians who live there have seen almost no settlers and accordingly less military. Now, Chomesh, Sanu, Ganim, Kadim, the 4 isolated settlements evacuated during the 2005 disengagement are returning. But they are not alone. Netanyahu's government has approved 14 more settlements that fragment and tear apart the largest continuity of Palestinian communities in the West Bank. The military's new approach aligns with the long-term goals and aspirations of settlers who want to reverse the disengagement and return to those areas. Israeli cabinet ministers like Defense Minister Israel Katz and Justice Minister Yariv Levin regularly visit settlers and their leaders who have become one of the most influential groups within Netanyahu's Likud party.
Now, here in America, unfortunately, there are these Israeli organizations who come and visit, and they hold these real estate sales in Jewish synagogues in places like Manhattan, okay? And what they're selling are illegal settlements to Americans. And when protesters protest in front of these synagogues, which is where they choose to do these illegal land and real estate sales, our media makes the protesters out to be the bad guys, as if they're targeting synagogues simply because they're synagogues, which obviously is not true.
I just got to jump in. They actively lie to you.
Yeah.
They tell you, oh, these vicious Jew haters showed up to terrorize innocent Jewish people in their temples and synagogues. Now, look, guys, I don't like that kind of action overall because it creates too much hostility, and I'm worried about it.
What, protesting in front of the synagogues?
Like the conflicts that it creates, and then the cops always come in and beat our side up, right? And then arrest them and do all sorts of stuff. Okay, but look, I get it. If you want to, this is disgusting stuff. So if you want to protest it, I'm not blaming you at all. I totally get it.
I 100% support it, just to be clear.
All right, but my point here isn't about whether you should or shouldn't do that protest. My point is the media actively lies to you and doesn't tell you that they were doing a sale of illegal settlements that are meant to rob and steal the Palestinian land.
They literally killed people, and for those who survived, ran them out of their own homes and their own land in order to build these illegal settlements. And these disgusting, evil people insist on doing the sale of the real estate inside synagogues in order to play this cutesy little trick, which our legacy media is in on, to demonize the protesters who, have some moral issues with what's going on.
Do you get that they're using, again, for the billionth time, their religion as a shield?
Yes.
So like if they had it in a strip mall, people would go protest there and they don't want the protest. So they get to do this deeply evil thing of stealing people's land and then selling it.
Yep.
And then they're like, oh, once we put it in a synagogue and when people protest, we'll get the losers we bought in mainstream media to lie about it and pretend they attacked us for being Jewish.
So in the beginning of the assault on Palestinians, this is following October 7th, I think some of you guys can remember the Israeli government had provided all sorts of firearms to Israeli settlers in order to rain terror on Palestinians in the West Bank. Now, for those who might not know, the West Bank had nothing to do with October 7th at all. The West Bank, not governed by Hamas, but the Israelis used October 7th as an excuse to rain terror on the Palestinians in the West Bank, and they've been doing it ever since. And so it started off with them being given firearms, and then after that, we should look at this. Let's take a look at this next graphic. Now they're armed with even more advanced weaponry. As the Cradle reports, the Israeli government is now providing Jewish settlers in the occupied West Bank with drones. What you're seeing on your screen right now is a photo of Israeli settlers showing off their new government-approved, government-provided drones. Okay, rights groups and local sources say the drones are being used to fly at low altitude over Palestinian shepherds and farmers to scatter livestock, intimidate residents, and gather intelligence. Now, the Israelis have also been destroying infrastructure in the West Bank. I want you to take a look at the video right here, which shows the IDF. These aren't settlers, this is the IDF using D9 Caterpillars to rip apart Palestinian water infrastructure in the West Bank. These are supplied by the United States. These are manufactured in Illinois, okay? And we give them to the IDF so they can go ahead and destroy water infrastructure in the West Bank, making way for Israeli settlers to come and steal that land. That is what we do.
Those are sick terrorists you're looking at right there. Destroying civilian infrastructure is a war crime, and there isn't any war. The West Bank didn't do anything to the Israelis, but the Israelis are slaughtering them and committing a genocide there anyway, because they are a vicious terrorist state who is trying to steal all of the land around them. And if you're a settler colony and you want to expand, there's only one way to expand: murder your neighbors and steal their land. That is exactly what Israel is doing, and our disgusting pig media sits there and pretends it's not happening. So
yeah. I have a few more details.
And by the way, you think they're not gonna arm those drones? You think those terrorists aren't gonna arm those drones and start murdering civilians at a more efficient pace? Come on, they're vicious religious lunatics. Of course they're gonna arm them. They murder Palestinians every day.
So as Cenk had referenced earlier, the Israeli human rights organization known as B'Tselem has put out a new report in regard to the slaughter of children by Israeli settlers in the West Bank. And they write that over the course of 2 years and 8 months, from October 7th to June 7th of 2026, Israeli forces killed 235 Palestinian children and teenagers in the West Bank. 5 others were killed by settlers. In 2025 alone, the year that is the focus of this investigation, Israeli forces killed 54 Palestinian children and teenagers in the West Bank. And just to give you a comparison, okay, from the end of the Second Intifada on February 9th, 2005 to the end of 2021, almost 17 years, Israeli forces killed 194 Palestinian children and teenagers in the West Bank. So you're seeing how their slaughter campaign has really accelerated, especially in 2025. Now, those responsible do not try to hide this policy. Rather, they give it full systemic backing, as reflected in the remarks of Central Command Chief Avi Bluth, who publicly boasted that, quote, "We are killing like we haven't killed since 1967. They say it, guys. They just say it. They say it out loud, they brag about it. But if we acknowledge it, we're Jew haters, right?
Yeah, you know the rule. They're allowed to do it. They're allowed to say it. You're not allowed to say it. And if you do, the people pretending to news here will cover up the news and then blame you and say, "Oh, I can't believe you said something accurate about beloved Israel. Your career should be ruined and your life should be destroyed." But I don't work for Israel. I think you do. I think you very literally work for Israel, and I'm about to prove that in a second. But first, let's talk more about the slaughter. So a lot of Jewish Americans have this fantasy in their mind, partly because of the propaganda that Israel did when they were younger. They would bring them over and they show them a kibbutz, and they're like, "You see, this is Israel. You get to eat delicious hummus, and we go on a peaceful picnic in a kibbutz. Isn't this lovely?"
The birthright thing,
okay,
right?
and send me your money, Jewish Americans. Send me all your money. Okay, what they don't tell you and what they hide from you are the religious lunatics that are in the West Bank. Utter fanatical religious lunatics and inarguable. They all believe that it is Judea and Samaria, and that 3,000 years ago, God promised them this land. And they believe, not you guys, but they believe that they should murder the people on that land and take it because God told them. And I hear all the time about, oh, Muslims are radicals and everyone has to denounce the Muslim radicals, right? Muslim radicals are 0.01% of 1.6 billion Muslims in the world, right? Those settlers, they're about to put 1 million more into the West Bank. It is a giant percentage of the Israeli population that believe that God gave them the land and they're allowed to slaughter anyone on it and steal it. A giant percentage of the Israeli citizens. So we're all kidding ourselves if we're pretending that's not the case. That is a fact. And you see the viciousness that they're doing. We showed you in earlier shows. They're starting to lurk around the bathrooms in the West Bank so they could grab girls coming out of the bathrooms. And so sometimes they rape, sometimes they urinate on them just to teach the Palestinians a lesson. Now, why are they doing that? Is it gratuitous?
Because they're terrorists.
Partly because they're terrorists, and it is gratuitous, but mainly because they want to drive the Palestinians out. And what did they do in 1967 that guy just referred to? They attacked all of their neighbors, then our media lied to us and said it was self-defense. That's not true at all. They started the wars, they destroyed the air force of all of their neighbors, and then they took their land. And they said they were gonna give it back. And I love the peace deal they did with Egypt. I think they could do that deal right now. 57 Arab nations are ready to do a deal, give the Palestinians their land back. Okay, so we know peace can work, but they chose not to do that with the Palestinians because Palestinians don't have the military that Egypt has. Egypt had the largest military. Once they eliminated that, they're like, let's crush the rest of the Arabs. And they stole all that land. And all the liars in American media told me they were gonna give it back. Have they ever given it back? Never. Are they planning to give it back? Never. They took 70% of Gaza. And what happened? You told me that it was self-defense. Oh, you never went back and told anyone that they actually stole it, right? As a single cable news anchor told the American people that 70% of Gaza has been stolen by Israel, and they brag about it. It's not like we don't know it, but wait, now I'm gonna prove it to you, okay? So as Anna told you, tons of people have been killed in the West Bank. In fact, since October 7th, about as many people have been killed in the West Bank as were killed by Hamas inside Israel on October 7th. In fact, more civilians have been killed in the West Bank than were killed on October 7th. And 7 times as many children have been killed inside the West Bank than October 7th. Now, you saw it with your own eyes and ears. Mainstream media, what did they say about October 7th? The worst thing since the Holocaust. A catastrophe of epic proportions. And that's fair. It was terrible, all those people who died, and 36 kids were killed. Terrible, we totally agree. So now obviously the same is true of 235 kids being killed, and there's more civilians being killed in the West Bank that never attacked Israel. Nope, not as bad as not the worst thing that's happened since the Holocaust, not the worst thing at all. In fact, not even noted. Have you seen it on cable news? Have you seen it covered in mainstream media? Zero. And what does that tell you? That tells you they're not doing the news. If you were objectively doing the news, you would be horrified by both of those events. And one was in response to a 58-year occupation. The other is in response to, I want your land, so I'm gonna murder you and take it. But our media goes, no, the Palestinian lives are worthless. We're not gonna cover it. We don't even think it's a news story that Israel has slaughtered these civilians and these children. Not a news story, because they're only Palestinians. They're only Christians and Muslims. Their lives don't count. Only Israeli lives count. That is an indisputable fact, and you all saw it. You all saw it with your own eyes. It doesn't matter how much the media lies to you. So if you care about Palestinian lives, you're an anti-Semite and you should be destroyed, right? Right, media? You see how sick they are. You see how much they lie to you. It is guys, I have the zeal of the converted because I didn't know. I thought mainstream media was real for most of my life because I'm past 50. We grew up thinking that was real news. We got fed nothing but Israeli propaganda our whole lives so they could take more land and kill more Palestinians and Lebanese and Persians and Syrians. I can't be more disgusted by our media and our politicians that actively steal our money to support these terrorists.
Yeah, and when the Arabs fight back because their own have been slaughtered by the Israelis, they're demonized as terrorists. Which is why I refuse to refer to Hezbollah as a terrorist organization. The IDF is a terrorist organization. Anyway, we gotta take a break, Cenk. Let's do that. When we come back, we'll switch gears a little bit. We'll talk about someone who is considering challenging Zoran Mamdani politically, and he really thinks that he's got a good shot at winning. We'll be right back.
Hey Andrew, what's up?
Hey Cenk, you ready to make the switch?
Yeah, I guess.
I promise it's easy, universal, basic, and you get income.
Yeah, you keep saying that. But you sure I'm gonna have coverage?
Of course you will. You think I would have bad service? I'm Andrew Yang, of course I have good service.
All right, let's try. But I'm so bad at tech. So, wait, should I do this thing of the hashtag business? Andrew, you're still on, right?
Yep.
Oh, I see it. No, wait, I don't see. Oh, yeah, I do see it. Here we go.
I actually did not realize that you'd be searching in real time, but I love it.
How much do people actually normally say?
Yeah, the average American is gonna save between $500 and $1,000 a year on Noble.
Yeah, no, you know what I'm gonna do, Andrew? Are you ready to become a Noble member? The two buttons are do it and go back. There's no going back, we're doing it.
We're doing it.
Here we go, Noble Mobile.
Oh my gosh, I just called you and are you now on Noble and not Verizon?
Why didn't you tell me it was gonna be super easy?
I know, man. Now you just stay away from your phone and watch the money roll in.
I can do that, here you go, phone, yeah.
What the f? Cenk, you still there?
Andrew? Oh, well, at least I got Noble Mobile.
It was really just one take. The whole thing is wild.
It's in my shoes. It's in my shoes. Hi, I'm Brett Ehrlich with breaking news with Brett Ehrlich. This is breaking news with Brett Ehrlich. Hi, Brett Ehrlich here. According to EPA head Scott Pruitt, climate change is not happening. He cited a meme on Facebook he saw. When pressed to back up this source, he said it must be accurate because the watermark said it was made by a scientist. So, your move, Truth.
At TYT, our mission is to boldly pursue truth, challenge the establishment, and drive positive change. At a time when corporate capture of our media, our government, and our politics is nearly absolute, everyday working people need a champion to fight for them and to push back against the powerful interests that threaten our democracy itself. At TYT, we're proudly progressive and call out corruption and duplicity wherever we see it, from Republicans, Democrats, or anyone else. And unlike mainstream news media outlets, we're not beholden to corporate advertisers, to defense contractors, to Wall Street, or to Big Pharma. We only have to answer to our audience, and for nearly 2 decades, we've accomplished that by delivering honest, timely, and insightful perspectives on the day's news without fear or favor or concern for whose toes we might step on or which powerful elites we might offend. And while we're super serious about the news, we also manage to do it in a way that is fun and lighthearted. We can do this together and serve our audience, and yes, have fun doing it.
nation. You are much needed.
TYT, TYT.
The place is like 95% TYT on.
Favorite channel, we're getting that message out.
Tank and the Young Turks do an extraordinarily good job.
No matter what mainstream media says, you have to listen to the Young Turks.
The people who support us on the internet, that's what gives us strength. That's what allows anyone who was in there who was undecided to think one side seems to be winning, they seem to have a bigger army. There might be a reason for that. So thank you guys.
Has just been, not good.
Stop whining.
TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. Michelle Moody and Cheesy Fingers, which is a hilarious handle every time. Thank you guys for gifting 5 Young Turks memberships on YouTube. You guys can join through the join button below, and it really helps. And guys, Noble Mobile's last day of 3 months free. Make sure you're getting that. Makes your cell phone service so much cheaper, and it's identical, and it works perfectly for me. So tyt.com/switch, get 3 months free. This is the last day. tyt.com/switch. Okay, so now let's go to our next story.
You might run against Mamdani.
I would love to run against. If I was going to run, it would be here. Can I win here? I have no idea. I don't know the demographics, whether I get enough votes. There's a lot of people who like me in New York City.
Have at it, Hoss. So I have a unique perspective on this because I've run before and I know how difficult it is, but I also know the difference between my run and Portnoy's potential run, and he doesn't seem to understand that at all. He seems to have no clue as to what it would take to win an election, but let's dive into it and find out.
Does Portnoy have any idea what just happened in New York? Like the types of candidates that just won primaries in New York? Anyway.
I have a theory as to why he doesn't know, which I'll save.
Yeah, I have a theory too. He lives in a bubble and knows nothing. Okay, but okay, let me give you a version of that. Let me give you more of what he had to say here. So Portnoy made this appearance over at Fox News where he reiterated his hatred for Zoran Mamdani in a conversation with Jesse Waters. So let's watch more of that and then we'll do our analysis.
Listen, I'll say this about Mamdani. He has pretty much said what he wanted to do. Like if you listen to what he said before he's elected, I want to get as many socialists, communists elected and then take over. And that's what he's doing. And it doesn't matter whether you're a Nazi, it doesn't matter whether you hate ugly colonizing women, it doesn't matter if you founded a group at Columbia with the express point of overthrowing Western society. Right. You get elected. So I think scary is a fair word right now. Sometimes I like to live in my head like, oh, the politics won't hit the everyday street, but it's crazy what's going on right now, and I don't know how you can't be scared.
Well, he's talking about seizing property. They're talking about capping net worth. Would you ever step up and do anything about that?
So I've always thought I would never get involved in politics. I think you can do more in the private sector. This and what is going on has actually made me pause that thought. I was saying to you, that old Plato quote, if you don't do your public service and run for office, you're doomed to be run by basically dummies.
So if they genuinely believe that there's a push by Zoran Mamdani type Democratic politicians in New York, that they want to seize private property, what would make Dave Portnoy think that he would be able to win if he were to challenge candidates that have won based on the message of seizing private property? Now, of course, everything that you heard was an exaggeration there, a significant exaggeration. But nonetheless, I want to go to one other video here because Portnoy thinks that he has the right solution. He wants to take some action. He's about to outline it in this next clip.
Depending on what day you catch on me in Nantucket, when I roll out of bed, I have a nice ocean view, and it's like, why do I want to ruin my life and get involved in this mess? Because I know what comes with it. But sometimes I do feel like it's my duty. I can't turn away. I feel like I could make a change. Maybe I do run in politics. So I don't know. It depends on the day you catch me. But let me say this. I spend a lot of my day losing my mind on what's happening right now, especially in New York.
Yeah.
I mean, you got the Nazi in Maine. This really, really, really worries me. So
you
I'm not
might
sure.
run against Mamdani.
I would love to run against. If I was going to run, it would be here. Can I win here? I have no idea. I don't know the demographics, whether I get enough votes. There's a lot of people who like me in New York City. I know that. I've done a lot of good in New York City when I wasn't thinking about politics, whether it's the Barstool Fund, pizza places. So it wasn't for show. I've had a real job. I've done real things, unlike these clown politicians who have never had a job and never been in the real world for a day.
Right.
Now, look, I want to be fair to Portnoy because he did do something that appears to be good during the COVID era. He pointed to the Barstool Fund that he launched back in 2020 with $500,000 of his own money, which raised $41.6 million to help small businesses survive the COVID-19 pandemic, and his popular YouTube series of pizza reviews to argue he is a viable candidate for mayor. Now, just real quick, I want to be very specific about why Mamdani in particular has been such a target for people like Dave Portnoy, who can't stand critique of Israel. And Mamdani doesn't really hold back. He's unapologetic in his critique against Israel. And I want to just show you one of the more recent examples of that. Let's go to D6 if you guys don't mind. It's a short clip, but it'll show you why people like Portnoy are really focused on Mamdani.
Is there room in the Democratic Party for candidates, officials who support Israel, not just support Israel, but support military aid for Israel? This was a huge issue for you.
Well, I think what we've seen is that the time for us as elected officials to pronounce what the party should be is one that should come to an end, and we should let Democratic voters themselves take the lead. And we've seen on Tuesday evening, we saw Democrats turn out in districts across the city to make clear that they were tired of tens of billions of dollars being spent in our taxpayer dollars to violate international law, to kill thousands of civilians. And you and I know that right now the way that Palestine is described is as if there is a ceasefire. That's the language that's typically used. Yeah. More than 1,000 Palestinians have been killed in that ceasefire. And what New Yorkers want to see is a politics of conscience, a politics of clarity, a politics of conviction.
That's the kind of talk that makes people like Batya and Gar-Sargon hyperventilate. Same with Dave Portnoy. And so I do think that that's really the heart of the ire that's being directed toward Mamdani, along with some of his more leftist economic policies. But I don't think that's the big issue for people like Portnoy. Now, Cenk, I think political bubbles are very real. Political bubbles lead individuals to think someone like Spencer Pratt can win a mayoral race in LA, which, the voters in LA are very far left. I knew he wasn't gonna stand a chance. But people think that there was voter fraud because Spencer Pratt, who was endorsed by celebrities, like those celebrities think, no, everyone must love Spencer Pratt, right? Like he's the answer to all of LA's problems. No, you exist in a bubble. And I think that's what's happening with Portnoy right now.
Well, he's in a couple of bubbles there. He's like, look, I am in Nantucket and I got this beautiful house and I look at the beach and I should be there, but maybe I come help you guys, okay? Well, oh yeah, seems like a really compelling political message to the voters of New York.
You should try it out.
Yeah, and a lot of people like me, okay? You think? So just because they like your videos or your show or whatever and you do well in media, and he does do well in media, doesn't mean you're going to get 51% of the vote, brother. You're not paying attention to anything. And he says it too, he's like, I mean, I don't know the demographics or nothing, but I think I could win. A couple of people I know like me in New York, okay. You're gonna have to study the demographics or at least study the vote that just happened last week. So the guy, I assume you like, Dan Goldman, right? I don't know that you like him as versus Republicans, but he loves Israel and Portnoy loves Israel and thinks that's, oh yeah, we got this, man. He was supposed to be the golden boy of the Democrats. They were thinking that he would run for president one day. Got slaughtered by 30 points. So Portnoy thinks, oh yeah, whatever, dude, everybody loves Israel, right? Everybody I know loves Israel. Everybody else is a Nazi. That guy in Maine's a Nazi, a bunch of people in New York are Nazis, and a bunch of ugly chicks going around. And he's had more.
What was that, by the way? Ugly chick colonizers. He's not talking about Israeli soldiers, by the way.
No, of course not.
Or settlers. He's talking about, I don't know what he's talking about.
No, but another time he took another shot at women, like women who don't know how to vote and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you idiot, that's 50% of the electorate, right?
Yeah, he should campaign on that message. I'm sure it'll work out really well for him, especially in New York.
I mean, like they don't know how good men are, okay? These dummies. Now, as Plato said, okay, if you don't do it yourself, you're doomed to be ruled by a bunch of knuckleheads. You know what I'm saying? That's what Plato said. I saw it. I saw Plato once in a pizza pie. I said, so, all right, Dave, good luck with that. No, not the rest of the country are not Nazis because they don't agree with your sick love of the terrorist state of Israel, who Mamdani is absolutely right about. They slaughtered over 1,000 Palestinians in Gaza since the so-called ceasefire. And how many were killed in Israel during that same time from attacks from Gaza? 0. How many killed from attacks from West Bank? 0 in the same period of time. How many killed over there? Nearly 1,100, including 235 children slaughtered by the Israelis to steal their land. Oh, but if you don't like it, you're a Nazi. No, I don't think so, Dave. I think that you're losing. By the way, Brad Lander won that race in Goldman, third most Jewish district in America, and Lander won by 30 points. Okay, and so no, your message of everyone else is a Nazi, I'm the only good guy, and Nantucket and in New York is not remotely persuasive. So look, when he first got attacked based on his religion, remember some guy made a comment about Jews or whatever, and we defended him because we're like, wait, what are you doing? No, don't get into his religion.
Oh, when Dave Portnoy was attacked.
When Dave Portnoy was attacked,
I agree.
Right? And you could see our videos, our tweets, etc. on that. I totally defended Dave on that because that was out of bounds. But then he immediately went to Israel's right about everything. Screw the Palestinians. Plato says it's okay if you murder a Palestinian, dummy. Okay, their lives aren't that important. We slaughtered their children. So what? Plato says. Okay, no. Plato is a philosopher, not the thing you played with when you were a kid. Okay.
Okay. Real quick though, I think the most devastating piece of information here for Portnoy is this YouGov list of the most popular American politicians. So obviously they do their polling and they found, honestly, this list is kind of shocking to me, and I almost didn't want to show it to you guys because I feel like it has no credibility with Kamala Harris at number 4. But number 1, you got Barack Obama. That didn't surprise me. Barack Obama still has like a massive favorability rate. Arnold Schwarzenegger is at number 2. What? He's at number 2? Like who even?
You know why? Because they're like, who do I say? I hate everyone in office. That's partly why they're going backwards to Schwarzenegger. He seemed like a moderate, right, when he was running California.
Bernie Sanders is at number 3, Kamala Harris number 4. Okay, I'm sorry, this list means nothing. Joe Biden at number 5. Like, what are we doing here? But anyway, my point is, all the way over at number 8, you have Zoran Mamdani. He's one of the top politicians that are favored by Americans in the country.
Yeah, and so to that point, guys, they always say this. Literally in a debate this morning, Brad Palumbo's show, right, against 2 Republicans, and they're like, he's gonna seize property. I'm like, well, good news, we're about to find out, because he's in office. You guys keep talking about like, oh, he's gonna seize everyone's property, as if he would do that once he's in office. He's already in office. He's not seizing anyone's property. But they still say it like as if it's about to happen any second. He's about to grab the Empire State Building and take it to Uganda with him. He's already the mayor. He hasn't done any of that. Okay, so now look, I'm not one to criticize somebody for running for office because as Plato said, no, I'm just kidding. Oh my God. So I ran for Congress and it was super hard. And one of the things that happens is the party, now look, the dynamic is totally different today than it was in 2020, even in this short 6 years. But back then, if the party said this is the person you vote for, especially in California, Democrats panic because they're like, what if 2 Republicans make it into the runoff? No, we got to vote for the main Democrat. Who's the main Democrat? Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, tell me. So they all vote for her, etc. So there's all of these political dynamics that you have to take into account. And it's obvious that Portnoy doesn't know a single thing about politics, and he thinks he's just famous enough, right? So none of the talk show hosts are famous enough. Like I remember when Rush Limbaugh thought he was gonna run for president and they polled it and he came in at 1%.
Oh my God.
Okay, so I even did a protest candidacy for presidency to try to push Biden out. People go, aha, you weren't president, it didn't work. No, we did push Biden out. It did work for the purpose that I wanted. Was I the only reason? Of course not. Well, it was a tiny part of the reason, but I tried to help, right? And by the way, I started at 2% in a Gallup poll nationwide. That is better than most senators and governors, but it's still very low, right? I would be shocked to see like any talk show host at any level started higher than 2, max 3%. But he doesn't get it. And then you work your way up, by the way. Trump started at 1%, Bernie Sanders started at 1%, and you work your way up. So it's not impossible, but it's impossible with his attitude and certainly not having any idea what the voters in New York actually want.
Okay, I gotta ask you a question, because I know you lived in New York for a brief period of time when you were going to college. Was that during the 80s?
Yeah, no, not the 80s.
Oh, okay.
So I was in law school in the 90s.
90s, okay. Because I think in the 80s, New York City did like a rent freeze, right?
Yeah, but remember I grew up in New Jersey, so right. So that's why as Plato says.
Okay, anyway, that's beside the point. Okay, we'll talk offline on that. Anyway, we gotta take a break. When we come back, I wanna talk a little bit about some of the new hiring decisions over at the Daily Wire, which are fun for us to dunk on. We'll be right back.
Let's go to Super Chat. Astardi says, I'm an atheist, but can you imagine priests doing real estate deals inside churches and of stolen property even? Well, they would probably be investigated. And if Muslims were selling stolen property inside mosques, that mosque wouldn't exist. It'd be shut down the next day. But if you even ask a question about what they're doing in the synagogue, they'll scream anti-Semite at the top of their lungs until your life is pulverized, okay? So those are facts. They could go cry about those facts. Deborah Druin, thank you for the donation. We appreciate it. Throbbing at 37 Pakistani American, which is a fascinating handle, okay?
Do you, boo?
Okay, says June 2026 framework agreement severely compromises Lebanese sovereignty and security. It legitimizes ongoing Israeli military occupation by embedding a permanent buffer zone under IDF control, effectively partitioning southern Lebanon without constitutional amendment or public referendum. Let me just pause there. Brother, we covered it yesterday. It is an absolute crime, okay? That Lebanese prime minister is a traitor and he just gave away territory there.
He's the Israeli stuffed Humpty Dumpty toy.
Yeah, by mandating the disarmament of Hezbollah, he continues, a major political and military actor, while leaving the Lebanese armed forces ill-equipped to fill the vacuum. The deal risks triggering internal civil strife or renewed conflict if the LAF fails to secure the region. Furthermore, it binds Lebanon to Israel's security timeline rather than its own national interests. Absolutely true. We'll be back. All right, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys, but also shout out to James Kelly. Thank you for sending 20 Young Turks memberships on YouTube. You guys are amazing. We appreciate it. Hit the join button below to be one of us and actually help us spread the truth, because certainly legacy media isn't going to do it. And we appreciate every one of you that supports us. Otherwise, we wouldn't exist. All right, let's go to the next story. So the Daily Wire is going nuclear, literally. What do we mean by that? You're gonna see in a second. But they think this is gonna solve all their problems because they got a debate king. And he's gonna take on Groypers, but everyone else too, and he's gonna beat him so bad. Is that how it turned out? Well, let's find out. Anna, what happened?
Yes. Well, as we had shared with you guys on this show earlier, the Daily Wire is investing into the network, into the company, and they're hiring some new folks. And one of their latest hires is a young guy by the name of Matt Nuclear. Unsure whether that's his real name, I doubt it. Either way, he started to make a bit of a splash online due to his involvement in these Jubilee debates. So last year he had a Jubilee debate with someone named Amanda Seales, where he dismissed the existence of institutional racism. If there's one thing I know about the Daily Wire, they love just delving into culture war issues, and more importantly, finding hosts, typically people of color, who are willing to trash people of color. In fact, I remember asking Candace Owens whether she felt that maybe she was being used as a tool by the Daily Wire. And here's what she had to say.
Do you feel like you were kind of used as a tool earlier in your career?
Absolutely. I know, not feel. It's a fact.
Because when you're critical of, let's say, the Black community, oh, they love it, right? That's when you get a platform and you get all the plaudits and speaking engagements. But once you speak out against what's happening in Gaza, you're not that useful tool anymore.
That was one of the things that was really hard for me to contend with personally.
So Matt Nuclear appears to be, I don't know if he's Black or if he's mixed race, doesn't matter. But apparently that institutional racism claim he made on Jubilee might have caught Ben's attention. Now his performance was, in my opinion, kind of unremarkable, but he became a frequent contributor in these Jubilee debates. And then later Shapiro announced that he's hiring him and said, "We wanted to bring him on board to be a person who just debates," Shapiro said, promising that Matt Nuclear, again, unclear if that's his real name, would host a nightly debate live stream where he would take on all comers. Okay, so the guy has already bungled his career. It's amazing. So one of the mistakes that he made was that he accidentally shared his conversations with Grok during one of his live streams. And when he did that, you get a sense of what he's asking Grok. Then we learned some details about his salary and his agreement with the Daily Wire. So
let me just jump in for a second. His salary is interesting, so you're gonna wanna see that.
Yeah.
But like these guys, man, when are they ever gonna learn? You remember when Alex Jones was showing his phone and trans porn came up and he's like, "That's normal, that comes up for everyone."
Does it?
Does it? Okay. And then that happened to some other Republican too. And then remember when Ted Cruz tweeted out incest porn that he was watching? Why would you tweet that? Why?
Because he's an idiot.
Okay, anyways, I'm sure, like, of course it was an accident, but on what planet do you do that accidentally? And then this brother's like, okay, now look at my embarrassing chats with Grok. No, wait till you see what's in it.
Yeah, so now Nuclear serves as a proxy in Shapiro's continued battle with Nick Fuentes and the Groypers. And the Bulwark, which reported on this story, wrote the following. Shapiro made clear that Matt Nuclear's main mission was to take down white nationalist Nick Fuentes. And Nuclear seemed all in. In another video last week with the Daily Wire hosts, he had said Fuentes was part of an anti-Western civilization coalition with a hyperfixation on Israel. Now attempting to basically reclaim the right wing cultural narrative of, and take over, I guess, Fuentes' audience in his mind. He ends up hiring this it's so dumb. Ends up hiring this Matt Nuclear guy. And things took a turn on the day that Nuclear makes this debut, right? So he accidentally and inadvertently linked his private communications with Grok during his live stream on the Daily Wire. And it ended up being chronicled by the Un-F America tour, right? These are Democrats that are basically like the counter to Turning Point USA. And they posted the information on X. Let's go to graphic 3, you'll see it right there. They say, next, we're publishing the full contract between Matt Nuclear and the Daily Wire. This is the agreement signed by the parties and sets out the terms of their working relationship. Don't blame yourself if you don't have the time to read this. Matt himself had to ask Grok to summarize it. Ooh, that's not good. So the contract revealed that he'd be paid $530 per episode with 4 debate streams every week. Nuclear would also get bonuses as his Daily Wire show's YouTube account racked up more subscribers, from 5,000 to 100,000 for 100,000 subscribers to $50,000 for 1 million subscribers. The Daily Wire likely won't have to pay out that bonus anytime soon. As of this writing, the show has roughly 2,800 subscribers with 976 views on Nuclear's most recent stream. I've watched some of his content, and honestly, he doesn't seem to have the riz, right, necessary to take Nick Fuentes' audience from him. I don't know. Now, his communications with Grok also included his unwillingness and disinterest in dating. He prefers to focus on his commentary career. He also expressed that he only had $261 in the bank. He's a young guy, so who cares about that? And the fact that he had to factor into a calculation of his finances a trip that he made to LA, and in writing about it, apparently his flight was paid for by an Orthodox Jew that I know. That's what he said.
He says to AI, like, why does AI care to what the brother's religion is?
Mulling whether to go to college or work for the Daily Wire, he asked Grok to, hype me up a bit.
Oh no, don't ask Grok to hype you up. Don't.
Bro, you're not crazy at all, the AI responded. This is straight up impressive as hell.
Oh, that's so embarrassing. Oh, that's so embarrassing. I'm melting. I'm like that emoji that melts.
People are having conversations with Grok, like actual conversations.
No, I get it. My mom does. On the other hand, his brother's 19 and having the same conversation as my mom is.
We got to get people together. We got to get people out of the house, like hobbies, groups, bowling. People used to go bowling. They used to be part of clubs.
People used to go bowling. I don't know that they did it this way.
That's how I do it, which is why I suck at it. But
apparently. Okay, so look, in order for me to not feel bad for this kid, I then look at what he signed up to do. He's like, oh, you need me to do propaganda. By the way, they said his hair makes him look like Acorn.
Oh, come on.
So I feel a little bad, right? Then he got a haircut, because I mean, you're not ready for this, right? And by that, I don't mean like the debates. He's trying his best, and people, people mature, grow, etc. I mean, like the internet's a dark place, man. And you're gonna go and take on groypers when your stuff isn't on point, let alone the rest of the internet.
Yeah,
right?
But look, Jake, real quick, because I don't want you to feel bad for him, because you haven't heard a word of what he says on air.
Well, I was just gonna say, I'm gonna give the appetizer because you already said it, and then I'm looking forward to the entree. Look, the stuff that he signed up for. Oh, if you're against Israel, you're for anti-Western civilization.
Really? Okay. Is Western civilization all about killing children for no reason?
What's hilarious is that, like, we are native to the Middle East. We have been there for 3,000 years. And we're with Western civilization. Which one is it, brother? Which one is it? Okay, anyway, and he says, and he uses all their talking points. They fed it to him, right? This 19-year-old black kid in America think, you know what? Everyone is hyper fixated on Israel. No, that's literally the latest talking point of all the bots and trolls online. Oh, you guys are obsessed with Israel. You guys are hyper fixated on Israel.
Yeah, you know what? Correct.
Yeah, and I don't mean just us. They use it against everybody. Glenn Greenwald wrote about it recently too, right? Yeah. So they feed the talking point to this kid. But by the way, Daily Wire is an American show. Anyways, go ahead, Annie.
So let me reset this so we can get into what Matt Nuclear was really hired for. So the Daily Wire hires this young 19-year-old debater named Matt Nuclear, and what did they really hire him for? What kind of message is he supposed to promote? Let's begin with F2.
Other fact, guys, is that Palestinians didn't really exist as an identity in the 1940s, 50s, and even late 1950s. They became an identity in 1964, and Zahir Mohsin told us why. He was like, hey, this is the reason why this identity will now come up as an identity. So That's also another fact that we must not forget.
He doesn't even really seem invested in the message, right? It seems like he's struggling. He doesn't really buy it himself. But
of course he doesn't. He asked Grok. He told Grok, "Hey, so this Orthodox Jew buys me a ticket to go to LA." I say yes. Okay. I mean, another time he asked Grok, he's like, something about Israel. Like he doesn't know. He doesn't
know,
he's just getting a paycheck.
He doesn't care. He doesn't.
Yeah.
But this is the thing that shocks me, Cenk. Like at 19, I remember what I was like at 19. Oh, I was alive. I had that twinkle in my eye. I wasn't jaded yet. I thought I had the power to change the world for the better. Like this kid's 19. Like, what are you doing with your life, man? You're just like a mouthpiece for hire? That's your aspiration? What's wrong with you?
But first of all, to Matt Nuclear. Okay, I feel bad. I really do.
He does need to trim that hair. Like
he already did it. He already trimmed it.
Okay, it's just a bad shape. That's all.
That's all right. Anyway, least relevant thing. Okay, first of all, he could ask Gronk, "What should I do with my hair?" No, okay. So he could ask Gronk, "What should I do with my life?" But look, to be fair to him, if you guys don't know this is really interesting. The Israeli lobby in this country has been doing this for a long time. And what they do, and actually specifically with African Americans, they go and look for young, up and coming African Americans. I don't want to say their names, but a couple more pundits on CNN, okay? And they then promote them throughout their life, and whenever they need them, here I'll say one.
Van Jones?
Well, very, 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 very likely, okay? But Bakari Sellers, I know the history of, right? They found him in South Carolina, they started giving him money to run for office, and then he goes up the chain. And then when the DNC wants to recognize a Palestinian state, they send Bakari Sellers in to go, no, this isn't about race or anything. No, in fact, you're racist, okay? For opposing Israel, how dare you, right? And so whenever they need them, these guys that they cultivated come out and support Israel politically and in media. They've been doing this for a long time. It's just that now we can see it with our own eyes. And this kid, they have started publicly so early, and he's gonna get burned up. The rest had time to become a state senator and then a representative or part of the Obama administration, get the legs under him before they become a full-time propagandist for Israel on CNN. CNN is just a sophisticated version of Daily Wire.
Or imagine foregoing dating. Okay, forget about college. I don't think college is necessarily the right choice for everyone. And in fact, I wish that we had more of a culture of valuing trade schools, for instance. But anyway, putting that aside entirely, he has decided to forego dating, being a 19-year-old man who dates, because he wants to focus on his Daily Wire career.
Yeah, I don't believe it. I never believe it when men say that.
No, Cenk, believe it or not, younger generations are very different from Gen X and even older millennials.
No, genes.
They're not having sex.
Okay, well, no, but you're missing my point. It's not that I think they're having sex. I think that they're making the excuse, I didn't want to have it anyway, I'm concentrating on my career. There isn't any 19-year-old guy that doesn't want to have sex of some sort.
I don't know, they seem a little weird these days. They seem a little different.
No, humans are still human. Okay,
we need to do a study on this. Do 19-year-old men still have interest in having sex in America?
Okay, look, so that's a whole nother topic, but I mean, on planet Earth that I know, there are no, let me put it this way. If there's 1,000 guys who say, you know what, I'm busy doing something else, I don't even want to have sex, that are 19 years old, 999 of them are lying because they can't get sex.
Okay,
and one of them might be asexual.
Listen, this Matt Nuclear guy, he is doing things and saying things that I vehemently disagree with, okay? So I don't want anyone to mistake what I'm about to say as me supporting him. But with that in mind, he's a good looking guy. I think he could definitely put the honeys away if he wanted to. I don't think he's not
gonna go in there, he's not gonna put them away with, do you have a hyperfixation on Israel? Okay, I hope you don't talk about that on the date. Okay. Anyway, plant a seed acorn.
Should we show one more video?
Yes.
All right, here's how talented he is, take a look.
I don't say this to be spiteful. I say this to be historically accurate and to really give respect to historicity here. The Palestinian identity was only created to fight Zionism. And don't even go after me for it. There was a man Specifically, I believe in 1977. Was it 1977? I believe it was. PLO commander, okay? He specifically said, I believe he was of the Ba'athist Party as well. Yeah, Zahir Mohsen. He specifically said, this is what he said, not me, so not my words. He said the Palestinian people don't exist. That's what he said, by the way. He said there's no difference between the Palestinians, Jordanians, and the Lebanese. The only reason why we are creating a Palestinian identity is to fight against Zionism. Once we have accomplished our fight against Zionism, we will take no time and waste no time, basically, restoring a larger Arab world. Because they never actually wanted their own independent country. There is a big misconception about that, though, that, the Palestinians wanted their own independent country. That is totally inaccurate and false. They never wanted their own independent country. They were only seeking the annihilation of Israel.
Hey, you know what? Mexico would like to take over Texas. They think that they deserve Texas. In fact, they have a special religion that says they have the right to Texas's land. And turns out, who cares? I mean, they're Americans. There's Americans in every other state.
In every other state? Why don't they just move to another state?
In every other state.
Come on, Mexico. God said that Mexico should get it 3,000 years ago. That's it. Well, you know what? Texas doesn't even exist. There are no Texans.
There are no Texans.
Right.
They don't exist. No, I mean,
that's
look,
literally what they're doing.
Now, obviously, the Palestinian people are a people that do exist. My maternal grandmother was born in Haifa, Palestine in 1937, which is what her birth certificate said. But understand what he's doing here. He is trying to erase a people who do exist, have existed, in order to justify genocide against them.
Yeah, no.
Good job. 19-year-old kid, good job. This is what you're doing with your life. Go back, try to date. That's a better use of your time, okay?
Okay, so look, I reserve the right for him to grow up and mature and change, and then we'll have a conversation about redemption many decades from now about his life, right? But for now, you did a good job of taking away my sympathy by showing that clip.
Yes, good.
Okay, so remember, the Israelis are like, we have a right to exist. And then they turn around, they're like, Palestinians don't exist. We get to wipe them out and kill them all, okay? And this bitch is on here talking about like, did we tell him salary? I get $543 per video. I work for the Israelis. Palestinians should die, okay? They don't exist. Israel has a right to exist, right? So I'm tired of all this crap. So dude, your hair looks like an unrolled condom.
Oh my God.
And on top of that, now that, okay, you want me to tell you my real opinions?
Keep going, this is fun.
Okay, I think it might be an homage to a yarmulke. And so he's like, this is the best I can do with a fro. How's my yarmulke? Okay, great, did your salary per video pay for that? So look guys, this is, I'm telling you, look, as much, like whenever I hear these disgusting genocidal talking points, of course it sets me off, right? But overall, the most important part of this story is, do you get how this game is played? You think that's his authentic opinions? No, they're literally paying him for those opinions. And he keeps telling Grok, how am I doing?
Hype me up.
Hype me up, Grok. And he's making about $106,000, but he gets bonuses for subscribers and all this stuff. And I get it, that's fine. But they're basically telling him, say these talking points that we fed you. But that's what they do with all of the media. What do you think? Why do you think the guys on CNN are like, October 7th, the worst thing happened since the Holocaust? Okay, good, fine, no problem. Then they turn around, West Bank, almost same number of people killed, more civilians killed, 7 times the number of children killed, and they're like, the Israelis did it, it's okay. The Palestinians don't exist. So is he really different than any of the cable news anchors who totally ignore? That's the West Bank. Gaza, since the ceasefire, the Israelis have murdered over 1,000 people in Gaza. And they haven't attacked the Israelis at all, right? In that period of time. But did you know that? No, because the cable news anchors are a sophisticated version of unrolled condom boy, okay? And so that's how this game is played. And they have basically taken our media and just spoon-fed us propaganda in favor of Israel our whole lives. Every single thing you've ever heard on that topic has been propaganda for Israel, like global war on terror. Was it really global? Was it in Southeast Asia and Latin America? No, It was a global war on Israel's neighbors. Israel literally handed us a list of 7 countries to attack. We attacked all 7. But mainstream media never told you that because they're all acorns planted by Israel.
All right, well, we got to take a break. When we come back, we've got one more story for you, and it has to do with yet another investigation, federal investigation, that FBI Director Cash Patel may have bungled. We'll be right back.
All right, back on TYT. Let's go to Super Chat for a second. Kobe Bryant says, get our New York mayor live to TYT with Anna and Jen. Sure, great. We'd love to have Zoran on. Balk says, between 26,000 and 57,000 rent-stabilized apartments are vacant in New York City.
That's crazy.
These ghost apartments sit empty because strict rent law limits how much rent can be charged. The rent freeze just makes the problem worse. So they don't want to give up a rent-controlled apartment because it's so valuable, because if you're paying $2,000 instead of the market rate of $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, that is worth $5,000 a month, right? So nobody ever lets go of the rent-controlled apartments. So look, people are frustrated. I get it. Housing prices suck, but they suck for a different reason. I don't think this one helps. But hey, I'm not a voter in New York. They voted for it. Let's see how it turns out. Let's hope for the best, okay? And so now HC8428, a YouTube member, says, if we merge, soon they're going to play the Israeli national anthem alongside ours in public events. Yeah, I hear you, and that's a fun theory, except they won't, because they want to keep it hidden. They don't want you to find out.
I don't know, Cenk.
Although lately they have been rubbing it in our face.
They've been flying the Israeli flag at like official US events.
No, you're right. I totally changed my opinion.
It's ridiculous.
And you're right, HC8428, because in Long Branch in New Jersey, they have the 7 Presidents Memorial, and they fly nothing but Israeli flags.
That's insane.
And the local American citizens are like, why, what the hell, where's the American flags? And why are they all Israeli flags? This is insane. So yeah, the takeover has begun. We'll be back.
That's insane.
Back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys. Brian Farley, thank you for joining through tyt.com/join. I'm telling you this a couple times today because it's the last day, and I need you to get it because I think it's a great deal. 3 months free off of Noble Mobile. This is the last day for it. And I promise you, my phone is exactly as it was before. My service is potentially even better than it was before. And I pay so much less now, 3 months free. tyt.com/switch, tyt.com/switch. All right, Casper.
There was something else you wanted to add about that last story we covered, Cenk.
Oh, no, that's for after this show.
Oh, okay. Understood, okay, got it.
That's all right, and we got Operation Joy after the show, but let's go to the next story. So Cash Patel has been bungling every investigation, and partly because he thinks he's gonna be famous by tweeting about it. But that's led to a series of disasters where he humiliates himself. Fun for everyone. Anna, tell us about it.
It's not fun for the American people when our FBI director seems more interested in posting online as opposed to carrying out investigations that are incredibly important to carry out. And the latest investigation has to do with what federal authorities are referring to as a foiled plot to carry out a mass casualty event during that weekend when the UFC fights were taking place at the White House. Now, we have some details about that foiled plot. I'll get to that in just a second, but here's how Cash Patel potentially hurt the investigation. So federal authorities are alleging that they foiled this plot, which involved drones and snipers and all sorts of crazy stuff. It turns out that Patel failed to follow certain legal constraints, including the FBI's own disciplinary code, by prematurely disclosing details about the arrests and the investigation before it was allowed to happen. Now, there's a very real reason why these rules exist. It's an effort to not tip off other potential individuals that could be suspects, people who might get arrested. On social media, Patel posted details about the 5 arrests in this investigation that were carried out in conjunction with the Secret Service. On June 16th, 2 days after the White House cage match. You read that right, the White House cage match. Patel revealed in an early morning tweet that 5 men suspected of planning to attack the event with drones and explosives had been stopped cold and praised the rapid action of the FBI, our partners, and the Department of Justice in a multi-state operation. And it was a multi-state operation. Some of the suspects were in California, others were in Nevada. I mean, pretty crazy story. But the problem, as The Guardian reports, according to several law enforcement officials involved in the case, was that the investigation was still ongoing and agents were still actively searching for additional suspects at the time Patel shared his post. In fact, so 5 people were initially arrested, suspects. After Patel had posted about it prematurely, federal authorities were able to arrest 2 additional suspects. But the point is, the FBI director disclosing these details publicly could have made it harder to arrest the 2 additional suspects. So it subsequently emerged that the inquiry was sealed by a court order, theoretically constraining Patel from talking about it publicly, but he did it anyway. And there is a general prohibition against publicizing information related to sealed cases while the order remains in force under US federal law. So there are some exemptions, but those are very rare, and you need to get a formal court authorization in order to talk about, the arrest publicly. Obviously, Patel didn't do that. Now, hours after Patel's post, the DOJ formally announced that it had arrested 5 men for allegedly conspiring to plan and execute a mass casualty event during this UFC cage match thing that took place at the White House. 2 more men have since been arrested and charged in connection with this alleged plot, and that's according to the Justice Department. They noted that in a recent press release. Now, after Patel prematurely shared details publicly, Matt Quinn, who happens to be the deputy director of the Secret Service, said this to reporters, and obviously he's talking about Patel here. "I'll tell you a phrase I learned early in my career at the New York field office, and that's don't choke on your own smoke. The Secret Service led the investigation from the beginning. I'll tell you that case is ongoing. In order to maintain the integrity of the investigation and the security plan, we chose not to leak it." Now, Patel seems very much obsessed, Cenk, with getting kudos through his public social media posts. And that's a problem. When that's more of a priority, as opposed to maintaining the integrity of an investigation, it's a problem. And he's the FBI director. This guy's a nightmare. Like, what is he doing? But anyway, what do you think about this?
Well, look, first, the fish rots from the head down, right? So Trump demands that everyone in his administration basically put on a show, right? In the media in one form or another. You got to go on TV and say, oh, Donald Trump is the greatest and Donald Trump won the 2020 election. It was terrible fraud. You have to jump through a series of humiliating hoops, right? And you got to look like you're out of central casting. Cash struggles with that. He does not look like he's out of central casting. So he is even more solicitous of Donald Trump. And that's why when they were out of office, he wrote that kid's book about how Donald Trump is the king and the greatest, but everybody else is being mean to the king. And
it was a literal kid's book.
Yeah, it's just pathetic, right? And so, but that groveling, that level of groveling, which is at an 11, worked. And so now he's like, oh, I'm gonna make daddy happy. I'm gonna tell him, hey, daddy, we caught the UFC guys and they would have ruined your fight, daddy, right? And so that's why he's so over enthusiastic to share. But bro, you gotta slow down, man. There's reason why there's these rules. This is not like, hey, you're working at the Waffle House and you can't figure out why do you have to flip the pancakes twice, okay? No, people's lives are on the line. This is a super important job. So if you leak something that you shouldn't on X, maybe you don't catch the guy and maybe he completes the mission on another day.
In fact, I'll give you a few other examples of him making massive, massive mistakes, which also leads to increased distrust toward our institutions, right? So for instance, after Charlie Kirk gets assassinated, remember how badly he bungled that, right? He comes out right out of the gate and he claims like, oh, well, we have a person of interest in custody. And so people think the suspect, the real suspect, is in custody. Hours later, they let the guy go. And people are like, what is he doing here? Like, what's going on? And is he really on top of things? There was
actually, come to think of it on that one, since there's a lot of questions about that case, I wonder if he did that one on purpose.
Who knows? Who knows? He also did the same thing with the deadly shooting at Brown University in December, in which 2 people were killed and 9 were injured. So an hour and a half after announcing that a suspect was being held for Kirk's murder, Patel was forced to reverse himself by posting that the man had been released after interrogation. He was also condemned for posting photographic evidence of a shooting at an immigration and customs enforcement facility in Dallas last year. Like, it's not like he's made one mistake and people are like jumping down his throat. No, he keeps bungling things and disclosing information that he is not supposed to disclose to the public yet.
You know what I would love? I would love for him to disclose information he's supposed to disclose. Like, hey, why was the cement repaved to destroy evidence the day after Charlie Kirk was shot?
They also, I forget the exact term for it, but they removed the soil, which apparently soil absorbs explosive residue. I don't, whatever.
That is,
anyway,
okay,
whatever.
well, hey, look, you remember the Cash Me Outside girl? This guy's like Cash Me on X. And so I got you.
We do.
Yeah, but can you give us relevant information, like on things you're working on as you prosecute them? Not early, okay? But right now we have no confidence at all that the FBI is even working for us. I mean, that level of concern about how they, the shooting in Butler, Pennsylvania, super strange. The Charlie Kirk shooting, super strange. We never get any information about that.
And remember, Joe Kent said that he was shut down when he was, the head of counterterrorism for the Trump White House, and that was before he stepped down. He said that he wanted to look into the Butler shooting and got shut down, which is weird.
Yeah, he's your national counterterrorism director at the time. And by the way, he said they had some information about how it might have been tied to a foreign country. And Cash Patel and the rest of the administration was like, no. Now that's weird. So weird. Wait a minute. What if it was Iran, right? Wouldn't you want to know? How do you know not to investigate it? That is incredibly strange. By the way, if you haven't heard, just a little side note here. The government claims that Tyler Robinson is a fashion guru and changed clothes twice in the middle of the shooting. Maybe, but less likely. Okay, so a lot of assassins do that. They're like, you know what? I'm not feeling this hat anymore. Let me switch up. Anyways. So back to Cash Patel. So he's obsessed with this, and it's not just about being on X. You remember the story about the tiny FBI jacket that he waited for so long?
Oh my God!
And they finally had to give him a female FBI jacket because he wanted to look like a tough guy coming out with the FBI in the back of the jacket, And bro, go do your job. Go do your job. Nobody cares what jacket you're wearing. Okay.
It reminds me of Kristi Noem. Like, she loved cosplaying. Like, they love to dress up. They love to do the theater and everything.
And again, to be fair to the Trump administration, I wrote about this in my book, Chapter 5 of Justice Coming. The media has been rewarding this for such a long time. Chris Matthews on MSNBC back in the day used to be like, George W. Bush looks like a real cowboy, rich, so manly, right? And he was like, Rudy Giuliani, he's like the cop, man. And he's like, and there was another the guy from.
Wait, George W. Bush looked manly?
Yeah, he kept saying that. He's like, I see why he's getting all the female votes. It was just like, And this guy who was a Republican senator from Tennessee is so weird. He always complimented the Republicans even though he was a Democrat on MSNBC.
It's weird, yeah.
So you had the pilot, you had the cop, and then Fred Thompson. He was like, he drives a pickup truck. He used to drive a limo to go into his fake pickup truck.
Oh my God.
Okay, Chris Matthews and the rest of the media never reported on that. Anyways, he drives a red pickup truck, real manly man. He's wearing Aqua Velva or Old English or something. And he's like, that's what that's what the women like. I'm like, how would you know what women like?
He doesn't.
So like all of our media is this garbage, right? And so he's playing up to that kind of nonsense that the media has rewarded this entire time.
Did you mean Old Spice?
Old Spice, I think it was. Yeah, Old Spice.
You know what? I F's with Old Spice. I like the way it smells.
Okay,
Super manly.
I forget exactly, but that's okay. It's in my book, Justice is Coming. Check that out and you'll see. Anyways, last thing. So look, this UFC fight, I just got my only 2 cents on it. I never said anything about it before. Look, I love WWE. I love it so much. I used to watch it when it was WWF. I knew it pre-Hulk Hogan, when Bob Backlund used to do the chicken wing, okay? When the Iron Sheik used to have his camel clutch, okay? So I love that kind of entertainment. But when you do it at the White House, it feels like Idiocracy, man. Like, I mean, almost literally out of that movie.
Look, we have such huge problems in this country that like it was so low on my list of priorities to talk
that's
about
why
on the
I never
show.
mentioned it.
Yeah, so like I'm not really obsessing about it at all, but I will say this. There's something really trashy about the way our government comes across to the people of this country and to the international community. And I'd like to be less trashy.
Yeah, I mean, look,
you know?
If Bernie had won the presidency and said, "Hey, Cenk, I want to be, in favor of the common man. Should we do a roller derby at the White House?" Like, no, don't do that. You know what could help the common man? I don't know, higher wages, better healthcare, right? And that's what Bernie and Ro Khanna and others are for, and Cash Patel's for this. All right, guys, Operation Joy is next, so stay right here. All right, guys, back on TYT, Cenk and Anna with you guys doing Operation Joy tonight. All right, so sometimes these days, by the way, I'm doing bonus episodes on most of the days where I read your comments, both leftover from the show and new questions and comments that you send in. So today we're gonna read your comments regarding joy and what brings you joy and how we can spread joy in the world. There's a couple that I love in there, but sometimes I do read leftover comments. I try to find the ones a little bit more joyous, but I usually fail. So because it was about the main show, right? But I'm gonna read just 2 here for now, and then you guys can write in as we go here that are actually about things that gave you joy or can give other folks joy. But okay, so on serious topics, kind of. Here we go. Oh yeah, I like this. Eclectic wrote in. I liked it as an analogy. That's why I wanted to read it to you, even though it's on a serious topic. Israel is the Borg. They will assimilate our military technology. You must submit completely to their hive mind or you will be eliminated. Resistance is futile. The minute I read that, Eclectic, I was like, oh man, it really does sound like them, right? And now I notice in so many movies, Anyways,
I know
all right.
exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yep, me too.
Okay. No, I'm not sure you do. Like movies where the villains actually go and hide their real intent, and it turns out the good guys were called the bad guys and the villains, and the people that the media told you were the good guys were the actual villains. I've now seen that in several movies over and over again. So interesting. But anyways, let me see. No, these are too serious. Okay, all right, let's go to, Becca Peck, thank you for joining, appreciate it. And Harry Travolta, a YouTube member, said, Dave Portnoy is a man who reviews pizza, not my primary source of political information.
Can I disclose or divulge some personal things that have happened?
Yeah, I'm worried about it, go ahead.
I'm going through a phase of not wanting pizza. And I think there's something wrong with me, right?
Okay.
There's something wrong with me.
I think so.
Pizza's like I get it. I like pizza. It's just I never crave it anymore.
That is
And
weird and
everyone
un-American.
is too obsessed with pizza.
Okay, you could make an argument for too obsessed with pizza, and I would disagree, and I would take the other side of the argument, and then I'd want to prepare really well before we debated.
Oh, you would have to. You would have to. No, it's just a personal. I think I just got sick of it.
That could be.
Yeah.
I just think there's so many creative ways to creative different pizzas out there.
What's your favorite kind of pizza?
Well, these days, so if you live in LA, there's a Brazilian chain called Bossa Nova. Oh my God, I love it so much. And they have this goat cheese pizza that is mental.
Goat cheese?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Goat cheese and sun-dried tomatoes and blah, blah, blah. And because I'm me, I add like garlic and bacon.
I knew it.
Okay, and Kalamata olives, okay? No, that pizza, that'll knock your socks off.
Oh, okay, I'm craving that. I'm craving that.
Okay, see, I got you back in.
Okay.
And this is funny. So everybody's been seeing these videos because of the World Cup, where Europeans and others are coming to America and they're getting shocked by how good our food is.
Oh, our food's the best. Are you kidding me?
Because the conventional wisdom is like, the fans have the best food on the Italians. I don't know what that was. Anyway, etc.
No, hold on.
The Americans, they're fast food BS, etc. Then they come here and they're like, wait a minute, holy cow, we don't have any of this in Europe. This is amazing.
Sure, but I would leave the Italians out of it. They do have the best.
Okay,
food.
part of the reason I brought up the Italians, of course, they have great food.
The French are too foo-foo, sorry.
Okay, well, I only half agree with that, so I'll come back to that. But the Italians, their pasta is amazing.
It's amazing.
And definitely better than ours. So you see, I'm fair and objective, okay?
Are you not merciful?
Am I not merciful? Our pizza is actually way better.
Fair.
Okay,
Fair.
and we have way more variety.
Fair.
I thought their pizza was And remember, is it their pizza or is it really guys in New York who took what was something over there in Italy and made it way better here, okay? In my opinion, but I mean, you can go and see for yourself. So a lot of the old school food is a little overhyped, right? And we bring it here and we algorithm it so that it gets into our brain and why I want it, right?
We just drench it in sauces and cheese. That's what we do. We make it better.
And look, we took the French model. Yeah, we took the French model. Why does everybody go crazy about French cuisine? Because they just drown it in butter, which I'm a fan of. I like it.
They really do. Have you ever had a French omelet? It's the most buttery egg thing I've ever had in my life.
Yeah,
so
good.
We're
like, oh, you're gonna drown it in butter? Yeah, hold my Budweiser, okay? Because watch me do this. I'll drown it in grease and cheese, okay?
We do that.
Yeah, so that's why they went to and I'm I'm not the only one who saw this. I told others and they said they saw it on social media too. They go to a Chili's and they're like, bro, what is this? Because now I know, because I was just in Paris, for that week I had off. And so they're desserts and bakeries to die for. Love it, can't argue with it, awesome, okay? The high-end food is 50-50. They're like, hello, this is a little snail. I'm like, and doesn't it belong in the garden rather than here? But anyways.
No. Escargot can, sorry to the vegetarians and vegans out there, but pretty delicious.
Nah, escargot, my cargo. But anyways, Okay, so, but half their high-end food is great, amazing, right? But the cafes, which I love because I love sitting outside and drinking coffee and I enjoy that so much. Their hot chocolate's shockingly good, different than ours. But most of the cafes have 4 items. Okay, that's it, okay? And one of them is definitely beef tartare. You can't get past the beef tartare in France, okay? Everything's beef tartare and 3 other things, right? The eggs with the mayo on it, okay? Which I like, but I mean, it's okay. So you get it. So they go to Chili's and they're like, or Cheesecake Factory. They're like,
oh, Cheesecake Factory.
They're like, what is this? It's every kind of food.
Everything.
And each one is delicious.
It is, it is. Cheesecake Factory, underhyped.
Oh, you kidding me? Me and Ben Mankiewicz are the main hyper of Cheesecake Factory for the entire history of the Young Turks. Done several tweets about it. By the way, Cheesecake Factory, what the hell, man? Give the brother a call.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Wait, why do you want them to call you?
For sponsorship. Okay, that'll give me some joy. All right, all right. Let's do some comments. And you could write in as we're doing this. Okay, Boomer Dragon Cat says a little joy for Anna. I was tracking the backwoods of Michigan this weekend and came across a very bold ruffled grouse, also known as a partridge. Was it in a pear tree? Oh, she says it. There was no pear tree in sight. Sorry, I stole your thunder there.
I think partridges are similar to quail. I think quail are part of the partridge family. I could be wrong about that. Please don't take my word for it.
Oh, no. I don't want you to be misled about the quails and the partridges.
No, I would never want to misinform you.
Let alone the grouses.
But I do love chubby birds. Chubby birds are fun, man. They really are.
Well, the country I came from is named after a chubby bird, so I guess I like it.
True, but we don't call it that anymore.
We don't.
Turkey. Okay. So my dad loves soccer, and the other day he was watching soccer with Christian, and I was just overhearing them talk about soccer, and he referred to Turkey as Türkiye, and I was like, Dad, like that is shocking. You are being so respectful.
Yeah, no, I'm shocked too, not by your dad, but by recent American reaction.
I know. They're just taking it on. They're like, yeah, okay, they want to be called Turkey. Yeah, I'm gonna say Turkey because Turkey's funner to say.
Okay, so I might even change because I like most of America, the first time Turkey tried this, which was a while back, I don't know, a decade or so ago, they're like, no, that is disrespectful to call us weird chubby bird from America. Okay, and by the way, there are no turkeys in Turkey. When I was growing up in Turkey, I never heard of a turkey. And when I came in, they're like, there's a turkey sandwich. I'm like, what is that, right? So that's why it's so weird that we're called Turkey, the country Turkey. Okay, but last time they tried to change it to Turkey, I was like, Americans aren't gonna buy that. Okay, it's not gonna work, and it's awkward, etc. But this time, no, all the soccer announcers, everybody else, everybody on TV is now going Turkey. And I'm like, maybe they can say it, right? And I found an easier way to say it. Tour, like I'm taking a tour. Key, like I'm, got a key for the door. And I'm like Trump now, explaining simple things. Okay.
No one ever.
Groceries. Nobody knew groceries. Okay. Okay. Anyway, and the last part is yay. So tour key yay.
No, Jake, I think people know how to say it. That's not the problem.
No, they like it's a pain in the ass to say.
It's okay.
People stumble over it. That's why they don't want to say it.
Turkey is totally fine. Anyway, they're being too sensitive. Turkey's being too sensitive.
Turkey.
Come on.
I mean, to be fair, there's a country called Hungary, right?
Yeah, I have a harder time saying that because I don't want to say hungry. So I really take my time to enunciate, Yeah.
And I know what half the audience is saying now, and one called Greece. Okay, so it's a different Greece.
They were totally thinking that.
Okay, but all right, here we go. Let's keep going.
Okay.
So Jess says, my late husband and I always talked about moving to Colorado as soon as the kids were older and didn't need childcare. He passed away before that dream came to fruition. 5 years later, I decided it was time to make that dream a reality. 1 week from today, I'm driving with my kids and 2 dogs from DFW to Colorado to start our new adventure. And today I signed a job offer letter to start work the following week in a field I know and love. I faced anxiety and discouragement through this process, but things are really coming together, bringing me so much joy. I can't wait to live among the mountains. So Jess,
awesome.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I get so much out of your guys' stories. So the thing I would emphasize there is, look, I love a couple of things. One, I love that you pursued your dream and you didn't let anything dissuade you, right? If you never make the change and all you do is complain about it or worry about it, then look, it's a choice you made. I know it's oftentimes very hard, so I'm not saying that choice is easy, right? And you had a hard time, but you got past it, so I'm super proud of you, okay? So way to do the thing that you wanted to do. But the second thing I wanted to add is, look guys, just like in Jess's situation, whenever you're going to try to do something you want, you're gonna get discouraged.
Yeah.
Know that ahead of time so you don't get overly discouraged. Why? Because 99 out of 100 times it doesn't go smoothly. And you know, so like if you run into trouble, don't be like, oh my God, I'm the only one who ran into trouble. I mean, it's absurd, it's too much. But like, I didn't expect this. No, expect it. Expect that what, you know, even a big decision like this or just life in general, it has ups and downs, ups and downs. Don't get thrown by the downs. Remember, your job is to run the obstacle course of life. And the obstacle course isn't just all roses, right? It's also challenges and it's also trouble. And we all go through that. So don't get discouraged when you run into those problems. You're supposed to run into problems and you're supposed to get past them.
Yeah.
Okay?
That's what life is. It's just a series of problems.
Ups and downs, ups and downs.
Sure.
Ali Pat says, happy to be wearing my TYT t-shirt and also leggings again after losing 70 pounds.
Oh, hell yeah, Ali.
All right.
I see you, girl.
Well,
yes.
now I literally see you. Okay, there you go.
You look great.
You do, that's awesome. ShopTYT.com for that same shirt. But super proud of you, Ali, and you look great. And thanks for wearing the merch too. We appreciate that. Hey, you wear something related to the Young Turks. Two things about that. Number one, like, yeah, that makes me a little proud. You know, we're a part of your life. You know, you wear it on Tuesday. You know, you're part of us, and you're showing that to the rest of the world, flying the colors, being proud, and you're seeing it yourself every day, right? And so I appreciate everybody who does that. And the other good news is, and we've had other people write in about this, oh my God, somebody saw my Young Turks shirt and said, oh, I watched that too, and then we became friends. And that's another different way of spreading the joy. So another way that you're awesome, Ali. Did you want to say something?
Yes, not related to Ali, but I just randomly remembered something that gave me significant joy and made me realize there are some people out there who have become very successful financially and actually do good things with the money. So the creator of Fortnite, which I believe is a video game of sorts, and was very, very successful, he has been quietly buying forests to protect them from being
Israel? No, I'm kidding.
Probably. No, but he's been buying the forests in order to protect them from being destroyed in order to like build other things.
That's awesome.
I love that so much.
You know, Ted Turner was secretly a great guy, and he gave a ton of money to the United Nations when everyone else was crapping on the United Nations.
Really?
Yeah, and he's like, no, we need to work together. We need to be a common humanity that respects one another. I was like,
if I were rich, I would totally buy forests. Like green space needs to be protected, man. It's just not being protected enough. Freaking
and if
industry.
I was rich, I'd buy CNN. So there you go. So Ted Turner should have never sold CNN. He was a good guy and they sold it off to a corporation. I was like, it's over. And since then, it's been downhill ever since. So anyways, okay, let's keep going. So let's go to Don Dada Dragon. Oh, you know what? Actually, come back. I knew there was something I wanted to say about what Anna said. Anna, it's funny you brought that up today because today Ro Khanna is being attacked.
Of course.
Of course. So now that Ro Khanna is doing all these things like don't merge our militaries, Epstein files, he's moving up the list of Israel's top enemies. And so, and all the donors, and now he's pissed off the billionaires with the billionaire tax in California. So now he's got all of the powerful forces looking to tear him down. So they're like, why don't you tell us about why you supported Graham Platter with a Nazi tattoo? And then he got that for like a bunch of days. So they're still going on about that. Like, God, what a bunch of losers.
Did you know, Cenk, did you know that back in 2005, you condemned Hezbollah?
I know.
Think about it.
They're so funny. They're now putting out videos saying, did you know that Anna and Cenk condemned Hamas on October 7th? Yeah. That's what we did, because that made sense. It was not the right thing to do. And thank you for showing how principled we are through all the years.
Yeah,
and they're so stupid.
They're so stupid.
Because they think like, we'll show you that, he's been on two different sides. No, bro, we judge based on the facts and the context and the circumstances and the truth. You're showing them we're objective news people, but they can't get out of their tribal mentality. So they're like, he was against his tribe.
Let me help them out a little bit. The conduct of the IDF and the behavior of the Israeli government over the last nearly 3 years, especially because a lot of this stuff was going on before as well, have radicalized a lot of people, myself included. So congratulations, it is your behavior for once in your lives, literally for once in your lives. Take responsibility for your behavior and how it changes people's minds about the state of Israel. That's it. That's all I have to say about it. Continue.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna leave it alone. Okay, back to Operation Joy. Anyways, I did bring up a political thing, sorry, but so Ro Khanna gets attacked today because his wife is wealthy. So they're like, aha, he's wealthy, and yet he wants to help other people. I'm like, where's the yet part of that sentence?
In that case, please keep attacking Ro Khanna.
Right?
Thank you,
Like, so they never do a story of like, this guy is super wealthy and he doesn't want to help other people. Way to be consistent. What? No. If you're wealthy and you don't want to help other people, you're a prick, right? If you're wealthy and you do want to help other people, you're a good person, not a hypocrite.
Yep.
Okay, so it's just bizarre. So all right, here, Don Dada Dragon. My joy this week is a bit mixed, he says. My best friend since middle school is about to be deployed to the Middle East. No, because he has no idea how long he'll be gone and he needed someone to watch his dog. I happily volunteered to watch my nephew. My dog Kai and I drove down from Seattle to the Redwoods in NorCal, where we went camping to celebrate 16 years of friendship plus his last few weeks stateside. I hate Israel, but at least I got to see my best friend. God save our troops.
Yes.
And then they put a picture up.
Oh, okay.
I knew you were gonna say that, Anna.
No.
I knew you were gonna say that.
Let's put that picture down, it'll put me in trouble.
Okay, to be fair to you, Anna, so look, I have trouble remembering things other than faces, especially names. I'm really struggle with that. You got to know your, upsides and downsides, your weaknesses and your strengths. Anyways, but Don Dada Dragon, I have to confess, I remember as, now both guys in that picture were very good looking, but I remember him as, black guy, really good looking black guy in Seattle that served in the military. Okay, by the way, that's not a bad way to get remembered. Okay, so anyways, that wasn't the point of the story. The point of the story is way to look out for your brother, way to look out for the dog. And
please submit more to our show. Like, we love hearing from you.
And apparently also more of your friend too. But by the way, seriously, let us know how he's doing.
Yeah,
as he's deployed.
If you can, I would tie him up in a basement and not let him go. But I know that that's going to be difficult to do.
It's going to be tough,
yeah.
Right? Although probably based on Anna's reaction, there are some people who would want to tie him up in a basement. Okay. But for different purposes. Okay.
I'm gonna get in trouble. Let's move on.
Okay, all right. Okay, so and last thing about that, he mentioned the word Kai. Support Kai Newkirk in Arizona. He's running the 4th district. A wonderful progressive that has worked with the Young Turks a lot of times. I got arrested with him doing civil disobedience to get money out of politics in DC.
He's such a great guy.
Kai Newkirk.
Yeah.
Okay, in Arizona, I was just at a event for him. And by the way, this is the last day of the cycle, so if you could donate today, that would be even better. Okay, I've done my public service announcement. Back to One True Coffee Dragon. They write in, a simple joy this morning, my 5-year-old son announcing that he was going out on the balcony to get a breath of fresh air. A minute later, I heard his small voice start counting. I peeked through the window to see him doing morning calisthenics.
How cute!
I know. They're right. He walked in later and announced, "That was refreshing. I really needed that."
Oh my God!
Continues. Little people trying to do big people things always sparks a little bit of joy, and it's good medicine for the soul in times like this.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Aw.
So that was one of my favorites today because it was such a cute little moment. I had the same exact reaction as you.
Yeah.
Right? The killer was, "That was refreshing. I really needed that."
No, the killer was that a 5-year-old knows what calisthenics is. That's so adorable.
Yeah, that was adorbs all around. There you go, spreading joy. You got joy, now we have joy. You see that? That's how we spread joy in the world. All right, now we go to Zelda Symphony. Can my TYT fam help me fix some damaged joy? I played the game World of Warcraft for 20 some odd years. I've been singing longer than that. The Legend of Zelda Symphony of the Goddesses, AKA the Zelda Symphony, and of course that's their handle, was one of my most joyous moments. After my Carnegie Hall debut, which they wrote in about earlier, I learned Blizzard Entertainment, creator of World of Warcraft, was doing a Warcraft 20 Years of Music tour. Perfect. I went through my contacts and reached out to the recruiter, who was a major prick, refusing to even find out if volunteers could sing in the choir. I was shocked at how pompous he was. I reached out to Blizzard Entertainment and got no response. I chose not to renew my subscription to their game. Was I wrong in my decision to stop? I have many friends who play, many good memories, but after 20 years, you'd think they'd be concerned when someone they hired acted like that to their fans. I can't be the only one. It's nearly impossible to get in contact with someone at Blizzard who could actually do something. Can this be told here to get their attention and fix this? So Zelda Symphony, my experience is that's a rough one because sometimes folks have, customer service folks that aren't great, and is that a company-wide thing, or did you just catch the wrong person or a person on the wrong day? I don't know. It's hard to tell. I know you tried a couple of different things, and sometimes people cut back on that for costs, although they're a super profitable business from what I understand, so they shouldn't cut back on those costs for sure. So I greatly sympathize with you. I know I'd have trouble, breaking off something that I've been doing for 20 years.
Especially with your friends involved. Like, I would say this, I would say don't let that one person ruin something that you love and that you enjoy with your friends. Like, your friends are still part of it. Taking yourself out adds insult to injury. Like, don't let that guy win. I think that's the way I see it.
You know what, Zelda Symphony, bottom line is just think through what's gonna make you happier, right?
Yeah.
If it turns out, and I could totally relate to this, you wanna punish them for a little while? You know what, I'm not gonna give you a subscription for 6 months, a year, 2 months, whatever you feel like. And then and if you feel like, well, you know what, I wanna go back to playing, don't needlessly punish yourself, right? So, but if you feel like, no, it's an act of principle, and I like it. I want to be principled on this, and I don't want to do it. Great, but either way, it's not for us to decide. It's for you to decide on what makes you feel better.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And so they're not going to, unfortunately, they're not going to notice. So this is really mainly a thing you're doing for yourself, right? But I like that you're putting it out there and that you're recruiting the TYT family and community to see if someone has a better idea than me, because I don't know that my idea is that great, but I get it, and I'm in similar situations where I get super mad at a service, but like let's say back in the old days, I'm just using this as an example. I might get super pissed at some bureaucracy at DirecTV, and they don't treat their customers that well back in the day. But man, I needed that NFL Direct package and the Red Zone channel.
I just had a kind of similar experience now that I think about it. So I like The Valley. It's a reality show that takes place in the Valley where I grew up and currently live. But anyway, I watch it on, what is it called? Peacock.
That's the one I don't have. I drew the line at Peacock.
But isn't Peacock Ellison owned?
No.
It was Paramount.
No, that's right. Peacock is not Ellison owned.
Yes! Yes. Okay, never mind.
Unfortunately, I have Paramount Plus, which I
have that too, which
I really like, and is now Ellison owned.
I know, I'm gonna cancel it though.
And HBO.
Disastrous. Yeah, I know. They
They're
ruin
buying
everything.
HBO now. They still have some regulatory things they got to get past, but so root for them not to buy HBO so we don't feel guilty watching it or getting rid of it. Anyways, I got to keep going because the next one's one of my faves. Velvet Jones says, my wife and I have adopted a new house installation inspired by, let me check my notes here. Oh, Mr. Cenk Uygur. Our kitchen counter now features an official joy jar. Here are the house rules. We both have to submit one note per week on color-coded paper, one for her comments or one for mine. All joy submissions are readable by both people. The idea is to let the joy keep coming back. If I'm feeling bummed, I want to be able to grab a submission out that will lift my spirits. If she sees me in a funk, she can say, tell me about how fill in the blank made you feel joy. It's really easy to be miserable about a miserable day. We have decided to make it easy to be happy about a joyous lifetime. Screw the small annoyances that are ultimately insignificant. Let's focus on the little joys with big impacts instead.
Yeah, that's the trick. That really is the trick.
Yep.
Because every day, like you do get to make a decision about what you choose to like harp on or focus on. And every day is mixed. Like every day there are annoyances, but there are also like these wonderful little moments that I think a lot of people, myself included, take for granted. So like when the happy things happen, when the joyous moments occur, like just take a second to acknowledge it. And the more you do that, I feel like you train your mind to shift away from focusing on the bad and instead focus on the good, the cup half full rather than half empty.
100%. And so, a couple of things about this. First of all, you're awesome for doing my idea. And I suggested that here, and there's never any pressure. You don't need, there's stress is not allowed in Operation Joy. But if it works for you and you put a jar just like they did, label it joy, and you put it however you do it. When you first said color coded, I was like, brother, that's too complicated. I don't want to write different. Like I don't want to keep track of the colors. But then I realized, oh no, just one color's for you, one color's for your wife. Okay, I can handle that. My small mind can handle that. And I love the way you're using it. And then to Anna's point, you know the old story, and I've said it a couple of times about the two wolves, right? I think it's a Native American story. The wolf that on your two shoulders, one tells you to be basically do things that are selfish and not good for others, and the other one tells you to be a good person. And then the story goes, so which is the bigger wolf? The one you feed, right? And so that's also true of joy and misery. Which is the bigger wolf? Well, the one you feed. That's a choice you're making. So look, I know that it's a little annoying to hear that it's a choice, because then you feel like, wait, I now feel slightly more stressed, right? Like, wait, am I making the wrong choice? Should I stress myself out about that, right? But no, it's just a fact of life, and it's okay. You make the right choice or whatever choice you're comfortable with whenever you want it, right? But know that it is a choice, and even though it's hard, you can't just choose joy. I say this in almost every episode. You gotta pay the rent, right? So you're gonna have moments that are rough. And we just talked about earlier, you go up and down, right? We don't want you to be Pollyannish and walk around like a zombie, like, hey, everybody, I am always happy, right? But it's also okay to pick joy a lot of times. And I'm giving you permission to do that act of defiance and choose joy and make that wolf bigger. Keep feeding it, right? All right, so I don't have time to do all of these or all of those, but I will read you one last one because it's also slightly political, but in a good way. Number 15 here, CK Progressive wrote in. Hey TYT, mail-in voting for the Michigan primary has begun, and I'm proud to say that I voted for Abdul El Sayed in the Democratic primary for US Senate. Of course, I want him to win the nomination for November, but regardless of the result, what gives me joy is being able to vote for someone that you know represents your interest, and frankly, the interest of all Americans. And yeah, that does feel good. Like we had some miserable choices out here in California.
Very, okay? Yep.
So I had to vote for people I didn't even know, in the hopes that they would be better than the incumbents. I had to vote for people that had no chance of winning. I mean, I had to vote for a lot of different things.
It's just disaster.
Yeah. I like the Tom Steyer for governor. That I voted for happily, but everyone else, I was like, all right. So to have an Abdul El Sayed that you could vote for, or to Graham Plattner or Ro Khanna, like aren't that many of them, right? To be able to vote for them, that's awesome, man. So soak that in on behalf of everyone else, and also soak in the knowledge that if Abdul wins, it's gonna drive them crazy. You're gonna get to enjoy a new round of cable news meltdowns. So Van Jones will go out there and be like, this is bad for the Democratic Party. Winning is not good. We should go back to losing for Israel. Okay, and all the other corporate donors. Why are we winning? Man, that is such a disappointment. But anyways, okay. Much love, guys. Thanks for being with us. I am gonna do old school with Michael tonight. More fun for you guys. All the members get to watch it live. That's at 9:30 p.m. Eastern, so come back in a little bit under an hour. And we've got more Young TYT content for you guys. Okay, but for now, bye-bye.